Hey, what's up, and welcome to the Game Positive Podcast, episode 42. Got some special guests today. We have Alex and Don from Seasoned Gaming here to talk about PlayStation 5 Pro, State of Play, and the Xbox presence at Tokyo Game Show. But before we start, let's give them a proper introduction. Alex, you want to tell everybody who you are?
Hello, this is Alex. I am a constant contributor over at Seasoned Gaming, and also is this second or third time that I guested in your show, Eric? I'm trying to remember.
I would say I would roll on the upper there. I think it's at least
Yeah,
three.
yes, at least three, and you have been my guest in my show too, like kind of like vice versa. So we
At
cross
least
over
three
pretty
times.
often. So glad to be back. Glad to be back to be able to talk about this week's shenanigans.
What about you, Don? Who are you?
Hey everyone, I'm Joe LaRussa, Don Lionheart. Everyone calls me Don online here, so everyone's gonna just say Don. I am a contributor to Season Gaming. I don't have my own show, so I just pop around as invited and needed in places. Happy to fill a guest slot here and there, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about this with everyone here.
And also, fun fact: this is Don's second ever podcast appearance.
Yes, my second
Let's
podcast.
go. This is probably like my second ever podcast experience too, probably.
42nd, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shit. I outed myself. Yeah, so we're here to talk about the State of Play, PS5 Pro, and Tokyo Game Show. But first, I want to do the old SG salute and talk about some stuff that we've done on the website. I'll lead it off first because I have the least amount of stuff to talk about. I have the V Rising impressions. It started off as an impressions. I played it, ended up playing for 80 hours. You're really not supposed to play for 80 hours when you do an impression. So it's kind of like a pseudo impression review thing. But it is really cool. The game obviously is really fun if I played it for 80 hours. And you can check that out over on seasongaming.com. And I know Alex had some stuff semi-recently.
Yeah, I did the Star Wars Outlaws review right for the embargo almost like a month ago now, which is wild to think about how much stuff has happened. And I did pretty much the lion's share of most of the reviews from the first half of the year, which was The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Skull and Bones, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy 16 The Rising Tide, TMNT Mutant Arcade Wrath of the Mutants, which I hate, and Stellar Blade were my games. So
Nice.
yeah.
And Don, I think you're actually the newest member of SG, if I'm not mistaken, by a hair.
Newest or second newest, yeah, something like that.
I think you came in like one day after Sard, maybe, or maybe it's the other way around. But you've
No,
been busy.
It was Sard
before me.
Yeah,
she was before me by like a week, I think, and then someone else joined. I don't know if the person who came after me
Louis was after you, so you were like in the middle of the 3 editions for this year.
That's right, yeah.
And I think you've already tied me for content written on the site so far.
I've only written 3 things total for the site. My first piece for Season Gaming was the hilarious. I always get tongue-tied because I intentionally made it to be a funny thing to read it as. But it's the hilarious history of horrible Dragon Age trailers. That was my first piece for the Season Gaming site. I love Dragon Age. It's my favorite franchise. It is wonderful. I'm extremely excited for the Veilguard. I have all the fancy editions ordered. I have 2 versions of the art book ordered because I'm just that crazy. So it was my first piece, and really what inspired me to write for Season Gaming was how bad that opening trailer was. But recently I did the Ara History Untold review for SG, and I did an article about Yakuza trophies and how they suck, but I still love them. And you can check those out on Season Gaming. Just search those two topics. The Yakuza piece is just an opinion article, nothing super exciting there. But there's a lot of people who either love trophies or hate trophies, and I try to explain to the trophy haters why sometimes the trophies are fun. And then the Aura review was really exciting because that was my first review of a video game ever, and it was good. It was a good game. I gave it a 7. It wasn't that amazing. It had a lot of issues in there. It ended up being something like a 5,000 word review, way over the policy of what
sounds familiar.
Yeah, Ains spoke to me specifically, Alex, and said, we normally have these limits, but I read your thing and I think everything you wrote is pretty important. So it's like, yes, and he kept basically everything in there.
Yeah, that's not quite what he said to me about Rainbow Six. He kind of told me like, don't do this again.
No,
There
he
were
understood there
one,
were a lot of
yeah,
systems.
yeah. There was 1,000 words of my rework review that got excised that were pretty
Yeah.
important about the criticisms of that game.
Yeah,
So,
I think he cut out maybe 500 because it was 5,500 words when I submitted. I think maybe 500 got cut between edits with Elu and Ains going through. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was a good game. Happy to talk about that in the what we've been playing section here a little bit as well. Now that I can, because this is the first podcast appearance since embargo that I can now talk about what I think. So
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Second podcast experience and already a pro at segues. So let's jump into what we're playing. I can go first because I don't have a huge list. I've been playing Astrobot. Probably gonna be some crossover there with you guys.
Mhm.
I'm not quite done it yet, but I'm on the last, I guess, planet or world.
Or Galaxy.
Yeah, the I forget what it's the bird one. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
is
that's
it
the last one.
maybe. Yeah, so I actually just beat that boss, and then the second, like the I'm not gonna spoil it, but like something happens after the bosses on every planet, and I'm on there. I just ran out of time. I really like the game. I think it's a very very solid platformer. I kind of think the highest rated game of the year might be a little bit of
Thank you.
a
Thank
boost.
you. Thank you. Thank you for saying
Maybe
it.
it definitely deserves to be praised. It definitely deserves a really high score. Um, I don't know if it deserves to be like because like it's a 95, right?
94 and
94.
94 meta, 95 OC. So,
Is it because that puts it in like the realms of like Baldur's Gate and like Last of Us? I think like
mhm.
I don't know. I think that there's just a real. I think the thing that I will say about Astrobot is it came at the perfect time.
Mhm.
It is This is a perfect formula, like the perfect set of circumstances for this game to come out. And I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to be praised. It definitely does. Definitely deserves a Game of the Year nomination. It's very, very well made. I just don't know if I can give a 3D platformer with some of the limitations that Astrobot has in comparison to other 3D platformers. I wouldn't say it's the best one that came out this generation. I wouldn't say it's the second best one that came out this generation. So but it is super super good, and all my daughter like obsessed, loves it. And
Mhm.
honestly, like seeing her cry because the gorilla boss was
Aw.
beating her like beating her so often, and then
Yeah.
me trying to help her but her telling me no, I'm not letting you help me, I'm going to beat this, and then through her tears beating it, and so, like that makes me like I'll never forget this game because of stuff like that. So I really really like Astrobot, and I would definitely recommend anybody pick it up. I'm also playing through Space Marine 2, Warhammer Space Marine 2. That game, that game might be my game. I don't know. I have to play some more. I haven't give the multiplayer enough of a
Mhm.
run. I did play some matches though, and it is fun. It is kind of it's not it's clearly like a 360 generation multiplayer where it's
Mhm.
I don't want to say tacked on because that's kind of a negative, but it's definitely not like fleshed out like say what a Gears would ship with or something like that. But it is fun. The game is really really good. I really like it. I think it's like running. It's like going back and forth with Helldivers, and at this moment in time, Helldivers is kind of uh, there's kind of having some
Recovering.
issues.
It's
It's
recovering right now because of
yeah,
the recent patch.
but I love Helldivers. I'm not going to talk shit about Helldivers. But I'm playing that, and ironically, I had last weekend. Every so often, I get a little bit lucky, and my in-laws will take my daughter for the night, and I have like instead of being able to game from like 10:30 to like 1, I can game at like 8 o'clock, which is like pretty sick. So
Nice.
all of my friends though were like doing cool like fun stuff like going out and whatever on Saturday last week. So I was just like I'm going to play something that's going to like take some time. And I actually this is kind of weird, but I booted up Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I played through the tutorial. I switched to Dragon Age and Inquisition, played through the tutorial, and I don't know why I'm hopping through these like massive RPGs, but I was just seeing where I would like I'm just trying to like get into one. And then I flipped on Baldur's Gate because I got the trial edition of Baldur's Gate on PS Plus, right? And
Mhm.
I played it, and within like 30 minutes to an hour, I knew like, okay, this is a special game. This
Yeah,
game
it
is
is.
really, really, really good, but this is a 2 hour trial. I don't want to get too invested in this, and I want the physical edition, so I'm just going to put it down and wait for that. The physical edition came a long time later. It's like a year later or something like that. It
The
was
last
like,
time I recorded with you, I think you had just gotten it here. So when I really think
yeah.
about that,
But when
so
that came, there was like I can't even remember what was happening, but there's other games I was in the middle of. It just I never got to it.
Elden Ring,
Um, Actually, well, yeah,
Shadow, it was Shadow of the
that
Archery.
is 100% what it was.
Mhm.
And by never got to it, I mean like I made like probably 2 or 3 characters and got off the Nautiloid ship and like did the tutorial, and then we're like, maybe I'll try a different class, and then did that, and then I ran a couple of co-op sessions where we pretty much just did that, got through the tutorial and made characters, whatever. And then I booted it up and I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to go through the tutorial again because I've done it so many times. Maybe I'll just choose one of the characters I already have made and just go. And that was around 11 o'clock. And then I stopped playing at like 4 a.m. because I am like addicted to that. I haven't beat Astrobot. I haven't beat Space Marine because I've only been playing Baldur's Gate.
Don't leave us hanging. What class did you go with?
Well, I'm actually running 2 right now. My solo campaign, I am playing a paladin because from what I could tell, there was no companion that's a paladin. I don't know. I couldn't see. I just did a really quick search. I don't think there's a paladin companion. Maybe there is that I don't know of. But anyway, I didn't think there was, so that's why I chose paladin. The run is kind of jank.
It depends on the path you take. I think one of the optional companions is technically a paladin.
Okay, so my run is kind of scuffed. I'm playing on tactician, so it's a little bit harder. Ooh. And this is not spoilers because literally anything can happen in this game, and I have not even gotten through Act 1 yet. But like when you get to like the first city, you meet a companion who just like shows up like a badass and starts killing dudes. He died in that fight. I didn't know he was a companion, but he just showed up and he did like some Legolas shit, fighting some goblins, and then we just fought goblins, and then he died. I thought he was just an NPC. I just carried on with the rest of my life, but no, he literally was supposed to be a companion. He's dead, and because he died before I recruited him, there's literally nothing.
Yeah, you can't revive him.
He's just done. So I never even got to talk to him. He just died. And then Karlak, I met her, and she really wanted me to kill some paladins. And I was like, are they paladins? Are they not paladins? I could not reason with her. I couldn't. So I had to kill her. And now I'm down 2 companions, and I have her head in my trunk in my camp. I don't know what I'd do with that yet, but
do you want me to tell you what you can do with it?
It probably has something to do with withers. I think I could probably respawn her.
No, not quite. You literally just bring it to the paladins that she wanted you to kill.
No, I killed them. I killed her. So I recruited her and told her, okay, yeah, we'll kill the paladins. We'll kill the paladins. And then I brought her there, and they're like, yo, what the you brought her here? And I'm like, yeah, everybody just chill, okay? These guys are cool. You're cool. Everything's cool. And then she just wouldn't relent. She would not like stop. There wasn't even like a check I could do to like convince her not to be a murderous, crazy person. So then she just tried to kill everybody, and then I had to kill her. And then the paladins were like, oh, here's a sword or something. Thank you.
So I think the purpose of the head, Eric, is that if you meet the paladins first, they'll tell you to go kill her, that she's a demon. And then you bring her. Right. And then if you just killed her instead of bringing her there, you would bring the head as proof.
Okay. I was kind of hoping
my guess. That's how I would assume it would work.
So she's dead then. I was kind of hoping I could just bring her the head to Withers and be like, yo, can you fix this?
You could try. I didn't do that. None of my companions died, so I got all my companions.
Shit. I'm down 2. But yeah, I just got to everything kicks my ass. Like, it's very hard on tactician, especially for melee. But I'm at the Goblin Fortress now. I'm level 4. I think I need to find a way to get to 5. But yeah, other run is a co-op run where we're kind of doing like chaotic good or like Guardians of the Galaxy style, and I'm playing a barb, and the barbs are so good. There's like there was like that secret, well, not secret, but there's like a quest where like you go to like a village and you go into like a cellar, and there's like this like Snow White mirror that's like, oh, I'm not letting you in. And like, I remember as a paladin, I had to like do persuasion and convince her and whatever. And I just got in with the skin of my teeth. Barbarian, one of the options is like pick up a rock and smash the mirror. And I was just like, boom. So it was sweet. And barbarians can like literally pick enemies up and throw them off cliffs as like an attack. So barbarians are way more fun than paladins, I would say. But my single player run is a paladin.
Yeah, Karlak is a barbarian, so you get to play as her as a barbarian when you have her, and you don't kill her. So it's fun. She is definitely.
She would not listen to reason. I tried to reason with her.
There was a point when I was playing that I had her in like no armor or anything because I had this outfit that like super boosted her armor class. If she didn't wear armor, she had like an 18 or 19 armor class with no armor on, and so she was just running around with like whatever outfit that was, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, barbs get a boost in general without wearing armor, which is kind of neat. But yeah, I'll never get to.
Cool.
She did. Anyways, that's all I've been playing. Really has only been Baldur's Gate. The rest of the games I'm just trying to get to when I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What
I'm
about you,
waiting
Alex?
for I'm waiting for my sister to continue playing Baldur's Gate 3 because I got it for the holiday last year, and I got to do the co-op with her, and it was so weird playing that kind of game split screen with someone, because I was actually talking with her when I was with her over the holidays that she used to watch me play these games like Mass Effects, that these kind of like stories. She would be always the one just watching me play, and now we're like playing it together, and it was so good playing it like that. That then when she left, I was like, I don't want to keep playing like this. And obviously she doesn't have her own console to play online, so I was like, this is my co-op game with her. I'm saving it, so I have not played more since then. But we played like a good 10 hours, if I remember correctly.
See, if you
So
got in the Pro, you could have given her your base console.
yeah, but PS Direct decided, hey, you live outside, so that's why. But
Uh,
yeah, like I played similar games to you, Eric, like Astrobot and Space Marine. I actually like played and beat Astrobot and platinumed it in like 2 days. Like I devoured that thing like so quick. And then I also played like Space Marine. It's Space Marine 2. I got to play that with my podcast co-host Paul quite like almost the entirety of that campaign. And I also kind of like agree with you. That's to me, Space Marine 2 is the surprise of this year. Like I knew it was gonna be good. I knew it was like I knew what I was kind of getting, but I was just not expecting to like it as much as I ended up liking it, especially because it made me realize, man, Gears 5 really has been 5 years since that one, right? Not including its expansion in 2020. So it's like
Mhm.
it made me realize I was itching for that kind of shooter that, though not one to one like a Gears of War game, you can definitely feel that Gears of War kind of like chunkiness, the big dudes in armor, the bloodiness, the bloodiness. You can definitely get at least the energy of Gears of War from that game, even in the way that you can play that co-op campaign, and also the multiplayer has a little bit of those vibes. So it's kind of like what you were saying about like not agreeing with the highest scores for Asteroid. I also feel that same way, and I also feel the reason why it got high scores is because this has been a year where I've been noticing a lot of like the review clicks that we know from like those websites that have podcasts and all that have all been like wondering like yeah, this has been a year where there's not like a clear game of the year like contender, despite the fact we've gotten a lot of excellent games, and it felt like they all have been wanting to find the one game that they can all kind of gather together to like praise to high heavens, because they, God forbid, they have to debate like all these different great games that have come out this year to kind of get a game of the year, that I feel it got that kind of bump. I think it was an excellent platformer. I actually agree with Brian's, the guy that reviewed, who I had in my podcast yesterday. That episode is going live the day after the day after we're recording this. He gave it a 10 over at SG, and I agree from the fundamental aspects of like what Astrobot does, but I also feel like I don't feel that's like a 10 personal 10 out of 10 for me, because it's also a game that's asking you to celebrate a brand that I'm not feeling too hot on in recent times. A brand that it's basically a lot of these robots that is like kind of like showing in this game is like, oh, how cool seeing a bunch of these franchises that were born in PlayStation that have kind of grown or been nurtured in third parties outside of PlayStation in recent times. How cool to see a bunch of these like amazing IPs that I loved in the PS2 era, kind of like just they have remained dead, or they're not being done, or they have not given me a way to like re-experience a lot of those games in modern times. Oh, cool! I'm getting to play a game that just recently got announced with a remastered that is completely unnecessary too, and they're trying to sell us a $700 console. So it's like it's asking me to be cheery about the brand, and I feel like the timing of that kind of celebratory nature, if you're not feeling too hot about the brand, feels weird, because it's like I understand the nostalgia. Got like smiles, like seeing a bunch of the characters that were there. So I cannot believe that they even had this for a thing from PSP that I'm not going to spoil, but it's from the fourth world, and how they even changed like to be like for that game. And I was like, the deep cuts are there. It's like they're being so respectful, but then at the same time, I'm like, Sony hasn't proven to me that it when they have an executive saying we barely have any IP, and then you have a game that literally proves that otherwise. I'm like, is this supposed to be a celebration, or is this just like a museum graveyard? That's just to kind of be like, do you
Yeah.
remember that? So that's why I'm like, that's why it's like Asteroid is a game that I'm torn on, because it's like I know that its high praise comes from a disingenuous place from a lot of journalism and critics that think of this year lesser than what it's actually really been. So So that's why I'm like Astrobot is like a complicated one, that a game that I love, but its timing it's also weird. That's kind of like how I feel about that one. So, and then another game that I've been playing has been God of War Ragnarok, which I have. This is my first time replaying this game since I first beat it back in 2022, where I literally had like I timestamped that tweet where the day I beat it. That said, like I was like speechless. It was everything I ever wanted from a sequel to what was one of my favorite games ever. And I
And
had
still
noticed,
is to this very day.
yeah, about that. So I it's funny that I mentioned the pacing inconsistencies in that original tweet because boy, in repeat, Don, I got to tell you about this in
Mhm.
our episode that
Yep.
we recorded last week. It's like
Yeah.
the first 10 hours of this game, like pacing wise, are downright awful. They're just absolutely awful. Like it has an amazing start. Like it starts pretty like exciting, and then after that is like it pumps the brakes so hard. You feel a lot of the mechanical level design that permeates a lot of that game, where it's like feels more linear than the 2018 game introduces its verticality, but by introducing verticality it makes everything just so 100% scripted, where it's like you can only climb these things that are painted over here, but you cannot climb the exact same like ledge that's like right next to it because you're not standing in like the white stuff. Like to do this like environmental puzzles, you have to kind of like hit your blades into this thing and then just move, and the thing just kind of snaps into place. It's like so inorganic, and the story is like a bunch of nothing originally, because it's like it's trying to set up so much but doing it so slowly that my initial impressions was like, how did I like this at first? Because it's like this start is like really rough, like really rough. And then by the time that I got to the Iron Woods, which is this section that it's legendary for people, you only have to speak to someone that play Ragnarok, say Iron Woods, and everyone will know what that is. That is like that this section where you're riding a yak and having to pick up fruit as you're following this ditzy itsy girl that is kind of keeping
Anger
stuff from
Boda.
you. Yeah, Angry
She's a
Boda,
god.
exactly.
Show
Yeah,
some respect.
yeah. So so she is like it's like an extended walk and talks from like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, when you're like walking and talking with characters, but it's like more extended and it's like a not as exciting until it eventually gets there. And then I'm being reminded, it's like, why? What was the things that really hit about this game is that it really grinds you to a halt, especially early on, before it really hits you like a truck with amazing story beats, amazing set pieces, a grander world that's like more creative and level design. It feels like they smashed the mediocre game in the first 10 hours, and then the game that the reviews said what it was is like in the later like 30 or 40. It feels like it's so weird how like how immediately that clicks, like after you're out of that hump. And it's much harder getting through that hump the second time, because then you know that it eventually gets really exciting, and the gameplay gets better when you get more weapons, more abilities. Like the crunchiness of the combat starts kind of like building, that then you just can't help but be angry that the first hours are so funneled, are so slow, are so infuriatingly galling. And yeah, it's like I've had a complicated, like it's been a really complicated like journey going through this replay. But right now I'm at a spot where I'm like, gosh, I just kind of want to keep playing. I want to platinum this thing again, because I'm playing the PS4 version and PS5. I'm not doing the PC version because I don't have a PC to run it. But that was my excuse for why I wanted to rerun it, because it re-entered the Discord recently. But yeah, it's been an interesting one. The 2018 game is absolutely better. It felt more organic. It didn't feel as mechanical as this one, and you can definitely tell a different director did this one. And based on some of like the interviews you've heard of, like the making of this game, you can kind of know why, because the director that made Ragnarok said that the way he sees and visualizes, the way he directs, he thinks of an Excel spreadsheet of kind of like a point and point and point and point, and you can kind of feel a little bit of that like mechanical advancements, especially in those early hours. So it's like crevice scroll here, enemy section here, climb up here, rinse and repeat, or flip around. It's like it almost feels like it's too obvious. It's not very immersive like your last one. And also the menus are fucking awful. Sorry, I know you know I can curse about it. These
You can
menus
curse.
are hideous to look at. And I know because I replayed 2018 earlier this year again, my fifth time replaying it. So that's why I know, it's like if I can replay that one like 5 times. So this is like my first time like replaying this one. It's like that's when I didn't know if it was just me or if there was something wrong. But replaying now, I can kind of see why I was hesitant initially to go back, because those first 10 hours are rough. They really are. So, but eventually gets there. So it's like I remember it ended really strong. So that
It
was
sounds like
probably
you're
why a lot of people said.
describing Star Wars Outlaws a little bit from your
Yes,
review of Star Wars
yes.
Outlaws.
It almost, yeah, ironically, that's so funny you mentioned that, because
And
that also
you didn't
happened.
give that a 10, or you didn't say that was the best game ever first time through? You just don't like Star Wars?
Star Wars was also not polished. Well, God of War is very polished. It's like
So
pristine. It was like pristine, but
my recollection of God of War, I platinumed it. Like I played not 1 second of anything else the minute that I got that game. I
mhm,
love 2018. I love every God of War, the PSP games, the
same.
PS3 games, PS2, all of them. Um, my the when I think back of Ragnarok, I think that it has the best combat in the
Yes.
series history. And
Mhm.
I'm playing it through on Gimme God of War, so it really forces you to engage in every aspect of the combat. You have to switch to the spear and to the blades of chaos and the Leviathan. You have to use the powers. You have to think about your build and your armor, and
The
it's so
elemental
engaging from a
debuffs. Yeah, the
yes.
elemental debuffs and all that. It's like it's super cool.
Exactly. I remember thinking that this is so awesome. And like the highs, the like I mean, the game is literally called God of War Ragnarok. So
Mhm.
spoilers,
No spoilers. I
Ragnarok.
haven't played it.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
but
it's
will
called
you?
do you know what you
I
know why
will.
do you know what Ragnarok means?
I do. Yeah, I'm just teasing.
Something
I have
sim
not played it, but yeah, I know it.
I'm
Yeah,
not gonna get into any details, but
I know
like
it.
when the titular Ragnarok may or may not happen, that is one of my favorite moments. Like it's
It's really
so
hype.
good.
It's really
And
hype.
I don't even remember, like I remember finishing it because I was like a blackout too. I wasn't like looking at talking to people or reading
Mhm.
reviews or anything like that. So I remember finishing it. My first thought was, oh my God, I'm so sad this is over. I wish there was like 10 more hours. And then I
Mhm.
look at people's commentary and they're like, oh, it dragged at the pacing and her whatever. And I don't know. Maybe the second time through
Yeah.
because I'm not like anticipating like what's going to happen in the story. I
Mhm.
know maybe that's why. And like the visuals are kind of like not mind blowing anymore because of other
Mhm.
things that have come out. So
It's a
maybe that
cross-gen game. It's a cross-gen game, and we have seen now current-gen games. So it's so funny that you mentioned that, Eric, because I was also kind of like trying to just keep for my thoughts, because the 2018 game, until at least last year, I consider it my favorite modern game of all time. And I told that story. I think I told the same thing
it
to
was
you,
mine until Elden Ring,
Don,
uh,
Don, that it was like
single
that
player.
was the game that rejuvenated me at a point where I felt I was gonna fall off of gaming. So
Yeah.
I had that kind of like I hold it at that pristine level. And then 2023, I played so many games that had individual elements that reminded me of Ragnarok that I preferred over Ragnarok. So, like for example, the level design in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, I feel it's way more organic and way cooler how that game is designed, like in levels, than in Ragnarok, because Ragnarok is so like funnel, and you can jump into your Jedi Survivor and you can't in Ragnarok. So that already you can already feel those limitations. The spectacle of like a game like Final Fantasy 16, while that game is worse in the moment to moment, think of
Way worse.
Titan. Yeah, think of Titan. Think of like the Bahamut fight, or even like the very end, kind of like the insane spectacle of that. I was like, wow, this like over exceeded the spectacle of Ragnarok. But Ragnarok is better in moment to moment gameplay. That's kind of like what I've been like reminded here, that every time that this game allows the combat to just shine, and it gives you more and more combat the more you keep playing, especially when it gives you all of that, it's just bliss. The combat is bliss, but you have to work through those 10 hours where you don't have those options first.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like
For what it's
what
worth,
what I realized.
I do think 2018 is a better game.
Yeah,
I think it's, but I have only played through it once, but I think Ragnarok is also an exceptional game.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like where I am is like I don't highly agree with that. It got the highest of praises, the same score as 2018. I think it could be like 2 points lower if I would be to put it, but it's still like put it up there as like a really excellent game. But those first hours, I tell you, it's like they came like a shock to the system for me, because I was like, I don't remember this being this stiff or so like the just Vardelheim in general. That I hate that place. I hate that place so much because it's crevice crawling the game at that point, crawling everything like it's a, if you hate shimming, it's like it's a nightmare, like how much shimming happens in
Immersion, man.
Svartalheim.
It's more immersive than a load screen.
Yeah,
Keeps you locked in.
yeah, thumbs down on that. But I'm still gonna beat it. That's the thing that I'm gonna be playing until probably Metaphor. Which that's the thing. The Metaphor demo came out, and I still haven't started it yet because I kind of don't want to fall off the wagon of Ragnarok yet. So I was like, I still have 2 weeks for Metaphor. I think I can still squeeze this platinum out for Ragnarok, because I also kind of wanted to platinum Outlaws because Don here like showed me he was able to do it. So I was like, it's doable. So
Super doable. It's
yeah,
not.
super,
It's not hard. The Outlaws
yeah.
Platinum. It's not,
So
not a hard one.
that's
Not
basically
a
what I've
super
been
fun
playing.
one either, but it's not hard.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those that I can listen to podcasts and do it. Like I can see that
Yeah.
that being the thing.
That's right.
So
Sounds like a
Don,
Ubisoft.
yeah. Now what you've been playing?
Yeah, so you actually had a really good segue there bringing up Metaphor, because I have been playing the Metaphor demo. I don't have any interest in Metaphor as like a baseline. Like I don't know anything about Atlus's games. I never played any Personas or anything like that, but free demo, so why not? um, and also my life is kind of just paused until Dragon Age comes at the end of October, so I'm just filling in the gaps with things. So one of those gap fillers I figured would be Metaphor, because it's an interesting concept. I find it inherently more interesting than high school students and the general plot lines of those Persona games. Again, not having played the Personas, I'm just not drawn into them as much, which I own Persona 5 Royal. Like I will play it someday if I find the time. But yeah, so Metaphor, I did a little bit of it. I think I played it for like an hour and a half or so. I'm really just like getting into it and exploring the first city, the main capital. That's because you have to like walk in, explore a little bit, and then you get into the recruitment center. I didn't get to do too much of it, but it's interesting to see, because honestly, the art style of this game kind of hurts my eyes to look at. Like
It's
I
like an
don't
up-res Switch game, right?
it kind of is. It kind of is like an up-res Switch game, but also like you run around, and when you have the dash functionality, which is holding R2, which you have to hold R2. Which, come on, why can't I toggle it? And why is it R2?
Mm.
So like some weird, hopefully it's a quirk for the
It's like
demo, not for the
Assassin's
base
Creed.
game.
Yeah, it's funny because
Yeah,
Rebirth is the
well,
same. Yeah, Rebirth is the same. You run with R2, but you can click L3 and you don't then have to hold R2.
right.
You get both options.
Exactly, and that's not, at least not in the demo piece. So like some weird things like that. But when you are dashing, like you have all these air effects, like a dash, like a whoosh effect going on the screen, and it kind of like makes your eyes feel weird. And my girlfriend also was watching me play, and she's like, "This feels weird to watch." I was like, "It does, doesn't it?" So I don't know. I've not played all of it. I will play the whole demo and see. And if I really like the
6 hours,
game,
they say. It's like 6 hours.
okay, maybe I won't play the whole demo. I'll at least get like into the demo a little bit more than I am now before I make any decisions on it. But I like the concept of it, like the whole conceit of this kingdom, and these different races and all these things. Like the baseline is cool. It peaks that I'm a fantasy swords and sorcery, sword and board kind of nerd. Like I like that stuff. Like that's my thing. And so this is inherently more appealing than some of the other things that the Atlas has made before. So I'm curious how it turns out. I'll see, and maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't. We'll have to see how the demo goes and how I feel, because I've been sold by demos before. I bought Dragon Quest 11 on the Switch because they had the free Switch demo, and
Mhm.
I had never played a Dragon Quest game. I'm not a really big turn-based player in general, and that demo for Dragon Quest sold me, not for full price. I waited till they had a decent sale on it, but I put like 90 hours into that demo and beat the whole thing, and like, or not the demo. I put like 90 hours into the game and beat the whole thing. And if I'd been playing on PlayStation, I would have had a platinum for it basically, but I was playing on Switch because I just wanted to play it on my Switch at the time for whatever reason, because I've only played like 4 games on my Switch ever. So,
Makes sense. Yeah.
but yeah,
It's funny you mentioned that demo because that was one of the first ones that carried the progress. That started kind of that trend, also from
yeah,
Square Enix.
yeah, exactly. And that was really cool. I like the progress carry. I think the progress carry is a cool thing to do in games. And I like that you don't have to carry your progress. So if I play this demo and I'm like, this is great, I'm going to buy it. And then I say, oh no, I don't have time to play this game until February, I can just start it again. Like it's not a big deal, because you get to try it and you get the option to carry over, which I think is really cool. So yeah, I've been doing that. That was just yesterday, because I think it only dropped yesterday. So I played a little bit yesterday. But before that, I was actually playing Mafia Definitive Edition. Um, I'd
Okay.
never played Mafia City of Lost Haven before, Mafia 1 on PC. I never played it. I'd played Mafia 2 on PS3, and I hated Mafia 2. I did not like that game at all. I was a kid, obviously, at the time it came out, because that was what, like 2010.
2010.
So I was a teenager still at that point. So for me, I was like, this isn't what I want in my open worlds. What is this? I'm just driving around story beat to story beat. What is this? So I was like, I don't really like this. And I ended up not really liking any of it. I owned the DLC and I never did any of it because I didn't care for it. But I'm a huge Mafia, the organization buff. I love learning about Mafia and La Cosa Nostra and all, and the Italian mob and all of that. Being Italian of descent, it's just interesting as a part of my cultural history. So when they revealed the Mafia, the old country, at the opening night live, I was really excited because that's really interesting to me. And I figured, I have Mafia. I actually have 1, 2, and 3 all on my PlayStation like library from free giveaways of it on PS Plus and all that. So I was like, you know what? Why not? Let me give it a shot here. I'll go through it. And it gives you like all these settings and everything. I was like, I'm just going to put it on classic and really, really mess with myself here and see how bad this is on the classic mode with the simulated driving and all that stuff.
Oh, no.
And I've been going through it on classic. I have not changed it off classic. It took me like 4 hours or 5 hours, but I made it through the infamous Mafia 1 race that you have to complete.
Oh, God.
Through on classic. I did it. Took me a long time. It took a little bit of yelling at the TV and a few breaks in between there to just calm myself. And I beat it yesterday. No, day before yesterday. I beat that race. Yeah. And I did a little bit of story progress since then. And I'm enjoying it for the most part because I know what it is now. I wasn't going in expecting the GTA, like, oh, explore the world and do all these things. I know I'm literally just going story beat to story beat. I know what to expect, and it's fine. It's fine that way, and I'm enjoying the story. I think it's a really good story so far. It's interesting. I'm not always a fan of stories where you start at the end and you work your way through. I don't always like when that's done that way because I like
res.
Yeah, in media res. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of in media res most of the time, simply because I kind of like to not know where the story's going. I want the surprise of the story, which in terms of something like Rebirth and Final Fantasy VII Remake, I never played Final Fantasy VII, so I don't really know a ton of where the story is going in that game. So for the people who are fans of it, they're like, oh, they're expecting things. I'm not. Like, I go to a Cosmo Canyon and I'm like, this was in the original game. I thought this was new. Like, I don't know. So for me,
I'm so jealous of that.
I'm the same. I haven't played the original. I only played the remake.
Yeah, and so you know what I'm talking about then, Eric, with that sort of thing. If you just like, I didn't know this was in the original game. I thought this was pretty detailed. So, yeah. So playing through with the in media res style story is a little, but at the same time, I'm just killing time until Dragon Age, quite frankly. And I don't think I'm gonna go for the platinum in it because there's like collectibles and stuff. I mean, I say that now. I don't know what I'm gonna decide to do in the future, but at the moment, I just want to go through the story on the classic difficulty, start to finish. As frustrating as it can be, as difficult as it can be sometimes with certain things, I made it past, I think, the hardest point in the game being the race. So if I can do that, I can do anything on classic there. So, but I've been playing that a bit. I think maybe 10 hours in that or something. And again, 4 or 5 of that is just the race. So I still have a ways to go, I think, from what I can tell based off of trophies and whatnot. But it's been enjoyable. More so than 2 was. Maybe enough that I would consider trying the remaster of 2. Maybe.
It's a little rougher than the remake from Mafia 1, but it's still decent. Like, it's still kind of like since you're already in the right mindset for Mafia 1, I think you would enjoy 2 more.
Okay, it's maybe worth trying.
3
I actually
is the
only
one that's
played 3.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say about 3. 3 is the one that they actually made it an open world. In fact, it's very Assassin's Creed 1 that you have to do a bunch of side stuff to advance the story.
Yeah, I remember that's what I've heard about. That's why I never was interested in even trying 3 because I was like, oh, I have to. I don't like mandating the side stuff. I like to do side stuff because I want to do the side stuff. I don't like when it's like you have to do all of these side things to progress stories along. It's a fine line, I think.
The story is good enough that makes it worth it, but if you're already, if you have kind of like that you because it gets more grindy the further you go into that game, you have to like racketeer something more, go like invade like bust some drugs and all that, and like
I don't even remember that. Like I beat that game, and I technically am trying to get all the achievements, so I probably like wouldn't have mind doing that stuff. But when I think back to when I played it, which was like at launch, so that was like
Oh,
a
okay.
lot, like
2016.
2016.
2016. Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, I
October.
remember the core gameplay, like the core, just like driving and shooting,
It's fun.
was really, really good.
Okay.
The story, really, really good, but you just are the repetition. I remember being really, really bad. Like
Yeah.
the core is
Okay.
good, but they ask you to do it so many times. Like go to this place and shoot all these guys.
That's
Yeah.
the side
I-
And
stuff.
go to
That
this
is the side
place and
stuff
shoot
that's
all these guys.
required.
I might give it a shot. I'm not opposed to it. Again, just killing time for the next month or
Yeah,
so. I've got
but it's
some
not like
travel and stuff in the
mafia.
middle.
Like it's not like Italian mafia anymore.
Right. I know that
Mhm.
there's like a part like you have. I think the main character from 2 is like
Yeah.
an advisor of yours, and
Yeah,
3
he's
is
an
Yeah.
associate. He's an
Yeah.
associate.
So
But it is
that'll be
cool. Like
interesting.
American South has like the racial aspect, which is
Yeah, the
kind of neat
Louisiana
to see.
side. Yeah, it seems like something that may be just interesting to check out. And again, I already have it for X, Y, and Z reason that it's in there. So maybe I'll just make September through the end of October Mafia month and just clear through these games and see how they are, because again, I like Mafia stuff, and I'm really excited for the old country just because I think that's a really clever idea. I don't think we've ever had a game strictly set in Sicily before with Sicilian
No.
dialect. Like, it'll be like my ancestors. I'm Sicilian and Napolitan for my Italian side, and so going home like that is really cool.
I'm part Italian too.
Okay, yeah,
For my dad's side.
yeah. So that'll be fun to experience, and I've been enjoying it more than I would have expected so far. And another, just a small piece of it is that it's Daniel Bavra who made the game. He's behind 1 and 2, and he's the guy who runs Warhorse and Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I
Cool.
love Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I'm
Mhm.
so excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It will take a backseat to Assassin's Creed Shadows, of course.
And the other 10 games on February.
Don't even get me started on that, Alex.
Avowed.
But I mean, the priority, the order condescendi would be, it's going to go playing Assassin's Creed, and then it's going to be Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then it would be Avowed, and I would throw in Civ 7 is in the mix in there, just like as a PC game, because that's separate for me as far as
I feel bad for anything that's within Monster Hunter Wilds vicinity. That thing's gonna be a meteor rock that's gonna hit that day.
It is, but I do think that Assassin's Creed has the brand more than Wilds, more than Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is huge. It's not Assassin's Creed huge, and so I think that,
World sold more than any Assassin's Creed has ever sold. I checked the sales. It's wild.
I believe it, but I do think that there's enough of a fan base of Assassin's Creed that no one's gonna not buy Assassin's Creed that buys Assassin's Creed. They're just
Valhalla made $1 billion.
Oh yeah,
it did.
Monster Hunter Worlds made over $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean it has sold 12.6 million copies. So
but
20.6 million copies. Just
I thought you said 12. I thought you said
12.
no,
too.
No, 20. Yeah, 20.6.
How many did Valhalla sell? It must have sold.
I think it was like
Valhalla sold a lot of DLC, so
Yes,
that's probably how it got to $1 billion.
Yeah, that's the most supported Assassin's Creed, like in the post-release.
Too supported. Too supported.
Yeah,
oh yes.
Bring back Cassandra. I did check out your list on Season Gaming, Alex, of Assassin's Creed games, like your ranking there. It's a terrible ranking. I don't agree. I do not agree.
I mean, someone also didn't agree.
I know. I saw your comment. Yeah. No, it's not that bad. I do have some differences in opinion on
Black
it.
Flag #1.
It was my number 4. Yeah, Black Flag is my number 4 on my list.
I think Black Flag is also my number 4, but the top 3 are totally different than yours. Because
because I'm a classic Assassin's Creed guy. Still,
my top 3 are 2, Odyssey, Brotherhood, Black Flag. That's how my 4 go.
I have 2 and Brotherhood in that top 3, so we're not that different.
I would just put Black Flag #1 and push those down, and I'm pretty much in agreement.
Yeah, I just like the other ones more. But I also have a lot of nostalgia for that. It's like
but you like Origins more than Odyssey, which I don't get. I didn't understand.
I replayed Origins recently, and I enjoyed my revisit of that more because I had replayed a bunch of those at the time. I would have said Odyssey is more.
Yeah.
My problem with Odyssey is that in the main quest, there's a gigantic jump between you're like in a level 20 quest, and to continue the story, you have to be like level 30 or 31.
Never had halfway through. So I just do everything, so it was never an issue.
Yeah. That's the game when they started selling you XP, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that was the one that was the most egregious one of buying the $10
But the thing was, you didn't need it. If you did the side stuff, you didn't need it.
I don't want to. No,
Like,
no, no, and that's the thing. Like the first time that I play Odyssey, I was like the completionist goblin.
yeah,
I did all of that. It's in the replay when I was trying to
yeah.
do all of that. That's where I ran into
Maybe you
that.
should just stop replaying games. It sounds like every time you replay a game,
There
you
you
hate
go.
it after.
There you go. See, Eric's right. I
Play
agree with
something
Eric.
new.
No, sometimes replaying games has made me love games more. That's how I love Origins more.
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
I do like Origins a lot, and
mm,
Abubakar Salim, the voice of Bayek, is so
mm,
good, and like
Goated.
I didn't play his Tales of Kenzera because I'm not a Metroidvania fan, but I
mm.
listened to the interview that he did with Colin Moriarty on Last
Yes,
Stand Media a couple weeks ago on Sacred Symbols Plus, and it was so interesting to hear that conversation and to hear them talk about
absolutely.
that game, and I really like Origins. I think Origins was a really fresh start. Um, I think that Bayek and that story is more interesting than Syndicate. As good of a game as Syndicate is, I think that it was nice to get that refresh and that new that overhaul there. But anyway, we don't want to get too sidetracked
Yeah.
on Assassin's Creed. So
Yeah. Go
Mafia,
read my rankings and tell me how wrong I am over at
yeah,
seasongaming.com. It's called the
yeah.
Definitive Assassin's Creed Ranking 2023 edition.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I really appreciate Daniel Vavra and the games that he's made before. And so I like that realism side of things. I think it's cool. That's why I wanted to play on the classic difficulty. I wanted to see what that vision was and what that was like. As someone who really did get deep into Kingdom Come Deliverance, the first one when it came out, after the first like 3 or 4 patches because it was kind of broken at launch. But and so that was that. And then the last thing, I played a little Crusader Kings just to explore the new expansion, Crusader Kings 3. I didn't play much because it broke my save, so I couldn't play it too much. But so I won't talk about that. But the other thing I do want to talk quickly about is Ara, because I did review Ara, History Untold, 4 Season Gaming. Um, it's good. It is a good game. I gave it a 7. A Season Gaming's honorable ranking. I said that Oxide did an honorable job in developing it, and they did. It just has some major issues. I really like that they put so much love and care and attention into the crafting system. But for me personally, it was too much. And after I looked at some other reviews, that was the biggest complaint I saw. Was most of the reviews where people gave it a 6 or an 8, which seems to be the range, and I think it's sitting at a 7.5 right now or a 7.6. But the complaints were the crafting is almost too detailed, or the crafting so detailed I love it. Like people talk about the crafting having so much detail, it's so granular to the point where I wrote in the review, Civilization 6 has a total of 52 resources that you collect for your civilization. Ara has 207.
Damn.
207 different resources, whether you collect them by farming them from the land or you build them yourself in the craft. Like it's just too much. It's just too much. Too much. Too much. Enjoyed it, but too much in that. And then I actually like the military. I thought that it was kind of cool that the Doom stacks, as they used to be called in Civilization, when you just have like units on units and you had really strong armies. I thought that was cool, and that's in this game. And you build formations and you stack units together, and that's really well done. I like the military side and the combat and the conquest, and how you have like a little video that you can watch the combat play out in this cute little animation thing. It's fun. And then the coolest part of the whole game really is that you can zoom in and see your citizens just puttering about doing dumb little AI things, like throwing a hay bale or pretending to get in a car, things like that. It's cute. It's really cool to see it. But I think that was a huge performance hit. And I have a 4090 and an i9 13900K and 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I was chugging at like 30 frames when I was zoomed in, and I had like everything maxed out, and I was at 30 frames at best when I was zoomed in as the game got later and later. So it was just a really big performance hit there. And criticism wise, just the biggest thing is the diplomacy system is broken. It doesn't work. There was no rhyme or reason to why my allies were suddenly denouncing me, breaking our alliance, and declaring war on me a few turns later. Uh, there's supposed to be some sort of like established relationship minimum line that you hit. There's a line of like 0 to 100, and you're supposed to have a minimum that you're always building up towards or falling down to. And I don't think I was ever anywhere near that. I was either all the way at the top or all the way at the bottom, and then it didn't make any sense. I would have allies, literal allies, that are supposed to help me in war, close their borders on me and break our trade deals just because. I don't know. It would just happened all the time. So the diplomacy system was really broken in the game. And The religion system just wasn't really fleshed out. It worked, but it wasn't very fleshed out. It could have used a little bit more. So all of that put together, it's a good game. It was fun to play. It definitely had that one more turn feeling. I played it until morning the first night I got it. I stopped playing, and the girlfriend got up and she's like, "Are you still playing?" I was like, "Yeah, I am, because I'm enjoying doing this." And I wanted to really dive in. And I didn't do that again. The rest of the time I was able to stop because I was past that first, oh my God, I can't stop playing kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it was good overall. Like I keep saying, I know I've said that a few times now, but it needs to be fixed. And Oxide supposedly has a good DLC and updates plan, and I think they'll fix it. As my first review, I was super nervous. I'm like, am I giving this a 7? Is this too low? Are people going to think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread or something? And, I was at a 7, and PC Gamer was at a 7, and a few others were at 7s, and then some were really
IGN
high.
at a 6.
IGN gave it a 6.
Mhm.
I think that's a little harsh. But then
It's
I think
the
some of the
old
people
Xbox tax.
I was about to say that the
Well,
Xbox X has been really nice this year for
but then you
Direct.
look at like Windows Central, and Jez Corden, who seems like a nice guy, but he has an Xbox Tilt, working for Windows Central, and he gives it an 8. And some of these other people that gave it an 8, and I'm like, I can understand someone giving it an 8 if you had a totally different experience. But I read these reviews of people, and it sounded more or less like mine. But that's why, like Travis, Ty Guy Travis always says, reviews are totally subjective to the person, how they feel about it. And the things that I experienced, even, the objective crashes that occurred, that I did have a few crashes on that reduced my technical score, that's objective. But the subjective feeling of this crafting was too much, or this diplomacy seems like it's broken, or I don't find this religion system engaging, that's subjective, and that just hit me harder than it hit some other people. So yeah, obviously I'm not trying to say that Windows Central or any of those 8s were giving it because it's Xbox, they were trying to do better or anything. But they do like those games, they like their studios and those games a little bit more. So I can understand if they were a little bit more forgiving for it, based on the fact that it's a new team with new developers and a new initiative from the Xbox brand and everything. But it was enjoyable overall, and I do recommend people play it on Game Pass if they have Game Pass. I got the free copy from Xbox. Thank you, Xbox, of course, for the code through Seasoned Gaming. And I recommend, if you have Game Pass, give it a shot. You might like it. I don't know if I would recommend someone spend the full price. I don't know what the full price is. Do you guys know what it is offhand? I never saw the price.
50, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it might be 50, 40, or 50, whatever it is. I would say that if they fix it and they patch it up and they fix some of these systems, it's worth a full price of $50 or whatever. But it's a sale game right now, $30 or $25 maybe
60.
at the moment.
It's a $60
Is it 60? Okay, yeah. It's not. I would not say it's $60 worth at the moment, because I do think that they're going to fix it up a bit. I would say that $30 is probably a safe bet. Half off is comfortable. But if you're a huge fan of these sorts of games, if you really like 4X strategy games and turn-based games, and you don't want to wait until Civ 7 in February, and you wanted to pick it up, you'd still enjoy it. You're going to enjoy playing this game, but you may still have some issues with it overall.
One question that I have is, like, I'm not a huge Civ player, but the only times I have played it has always been like multiplayer with other people, like friends, like playing it as if it's like a board game.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, if you are someone who plays it like that, like you're not playing with AI, so like the diplomacy thing probably isn't a problem anymore. Things like that. If you're looking to pick it up to play it with friends, for like a game night or something like that, would that affect your recommendation? Or
yeah, so I didn't play the multiplayer component exists. I didn't get to play any of the multiplayer piece of it. I don't know if the servers were up. I would check, and it would show
typically
like 2 games.
With early access reviews,
Yeah,
I
really
reviewed
weird.
multiplayer only games that I had to play single player. Like it looks like Extraction. I couldn't get teammates
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
So I think if you remove the diplomacy from it, I think that it does improve the actual play of the game, because you're not dealing with the nonsense. However, for you to remove the diplomacy entirely, you need a big group. Like I played with 8 nations, which was like the standard baseline, and it shrunk down over time because the nations get culled after each age or after each era. You get fewer and fewer. They cut you off, and you can even have human players culled as well if they're not reaching certain prestige levels. So I would say that you would need a lot of players to make it work. I also, Eric, play Civ in multiplayer with some buddies of mine. I've played. It's usually we do 3 of us playing, and sometimes there's 4 of us depending, but 3 of us for the most part, and we would have a large world, not like, I think it's like small, medium, large, and huge or something on Civ, and we'd pick the large one to give everyone a little bit more space, and we would put I think 10 nations or however many we could put. I think we could put like 10 nations in there, so it'd be 3 of us and 7 AI or something along those lines. Maybe it was 5 AI, whatever it was. But I've played a lot of Civ like that, and it works, and it's fun to do it that way. And I think that Ara would work well in that environment. I do still think that the religion is not fleshed out sufficiently if you wanted to try to go for a religion. And I also think that if you were playing with other people and multiple people had to manage that crafting system, it would take you forever to change a turn, because every factory that you build, every crafting workshop, every bakery, every brewery, every settlement capital, they all have things that they craft, and you have to go in and manually change them anytime you want to build something new. It's a lot. It is very in depth. The coolest part about the turns and multiplayer, though, is that it's set up to be done simultaneously. It's simultaneous turns, so they use their cloud processing to do everything all at once, and there's no lag. Like, you hit end turn and your next turn is started, and that's really cool. That's a really cool fact and feature of it. Even in single player, like, the AI is all happening all at once, which makes the game move pretty quick. I mean, I played it for like 30 plus hours, 33 hours, I think is what I got. And I got through a whole game at, I think, 800 turns or so. And then I got into about halfway through another game, or just under halfway through another game, into like 300 turns or something like that. So yeah, it's a game I say would be good for multiplayer, to your question.
Cool. Sweet. Well, that's what we've been playing. Only took an hour, which is pretty horrible pacing, if I must say so myself. But we got some great information there. I actually am really happy.
It's never too long or too short to just talk about the actual games themselves. So
yeah, No, I'm happy. I was like into the whole spiel about Ara, because I'm thinking about checking that out.
Yeah, check out my review. It's on seasongaming.com.
Yes, everybody check that out. I actually didn't know about the whole simultaneous turn through the cloud thing. That's actually, because that was like the thing I hated about Civ, is waiting for people to finish their turn.
Yeah,
it's just because I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna fight you, and then everyone's like doing all these smart decisions and playing the game properly, and I'm just waiting for them to.
Yeah. Like, so if you were doing that in multiplayer, everyone would be doing that at the same time. You would still have to wait while people did it if you were done really quick, but it wouldn't be one person and then another person and then another person. It would just be everyone operating at the same time. End turn, everyone operated at the same time. End turn.
So if you're like a Zerg player, it really helps. It sounds
like. Sure.
But sweet. So that's what we've been playing. Let's jump into some of these topics here. I think State of Play and PS5 Pro are kind of smooshed together a little bit, because they talk about PS5 Pro in the
They remastered PS5 Pro presentation inside the State of Play.
Yes, we got the PS5 Pro presentation remastered. What we'll do, I think this will be the quickest way. I don't want to go through every single game, but I'm just going to quickly read off what was shown. I'm 99% sure this is everything, but I could miss something.
Most of it's so unimportant, no one cares.
Yeah, that's why I was gonna go quick. We got Astrobot DLC, which is revealed super quick, which is really cool. Midnight Walk looks pretty cool as well. That's from the people that made the Dice game from EA Originals.
Lost in Random. Lost in Random. Yeah.
Hell is Us is a Soul Stranding like sort of game. That's actually my favorite thing that was shown. Metro Awakening VR, Arch Age Chronicles, which kind of is just another third-person fantasy melee game that kind of blends in with all the third-person melee fantasy.
It's an online action RPG.
Yeah, there's like another one that they showed last State of Play that's also online. That's like a third. You're
thinking Crimson Dawn, Crimson Desert, and I don't think
the last State of Play, it was like from China. It was
okay. I thought
it wasn't an online game, but it was kind of like the Ballad of Arcada or the where Winds Meet.
It's online.
Yeah, I remember it was like a free to play thing when it was announced, but I remember it was like exactly
it's a free to play single player.
Yeah, look at
Genshin Impact is free to play single player. Genshin Impact has light co-op elements, but I almost never do anything co-op in Genshin. So
well, I mean, you could anyway. To me, there's a lot of, we can get into it later, but there's a lot of third person fantasy melee combat games that get revealed at State of Play, and they all just look the same to me. And that's
more.
Yeah. Pal World Shadow Drop, which is kind of a hype announcement. Pal World is
except in Japan, not coming to Japan yet.
Yeah,
everywhere
because of the lawsuit.
Lunar Remastered Collection to add to the list of remasters. There'll be more of them. Don't worry. TMNT Shredder's Revenge DLC. That game is amazing. If you haven't played that yet, I don't understand what's wrong with you. Sonic X Shadow movie content DLC, which is the least creative name for DLC I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Fantasia Neo Dimension is a Apple
Hell
Arcade
yeah.
game from the creators of Final Fantasy, both Hironobu Sakaguchi and
Nobuo Matsu,
Nobuo
the
Uematsu,
composer.
the composer. So that's a really cool combination of developers, but it is an Apple Arcade port. So we'll see what that's like. But the talent is definitely there, or they definitely have the name recognition to put on the back of the box to get my attention. Dragon Age Veilguard got
A
probably
very long demo.
probably the longest like individual portion. And we could talk about this more because I know you probably want to. My quick take on it is I actually loved everything they showed of Dragon Age so far. I actually really liked the original trailer. I think it looked like Dungeons and Dragons, the movie that just came out, Honor Among Thieves. And I love D&D. I love that movie. I love the vibe. I know it's different than
I just
like
didn't like the art
Origins.
style in that trailer. The art style in that trailer is what
It was
Yeah,
very
to me,
it was very Fortnite-ish
Yeah.
compared
see,
to what
people
it
say
actually
Fortnite,
looks.
but I say it looks like World of Warcraft a little bit. And so, like, I don't know.
It's not a compliment either, and I played WoW
I,
for over a decade.
I still play WoW. I love WoW. Anyway, I liked it, especially the tone.
Yeah, the
But
tone's
anyways,
cute.
but this one was not good. I think the combat looked janky. I thought the pacing of the trailer was weird because they had to keep cutting it to make it less long, even though it was the longest thing in the showcase. It doesn't really impact my thoughts on the game. I don't think this will sway anybody one way or another. I think more so it just makes the state of play worse. Doesn't really affect the game. The game is coming out soon. You already made your decision if you want it or not. There's tons of awesome coverage and previews.
October 31st, Halloween.
Yeah, there's so
35
much.
days to go.
If you're on the fence, don't watch State of Play. Go watch your favorite content creators preview. Every single person I've seen says that it's awesome. And I think that that's a much better way to help you make your decision there. They showed Alan Wake 2, The Lake House. I've been radio silent on Alan Wake 2 because I'm waiting for the physical, which is coming. I have it pre-ordered. And this is the first time I really seen anything about it. And it was so trippy. Like, what? I don't know what's going on, but I can't
You
wait
have
to
no
play that game.
idea. You have no idea what awaits you.
The
This is for
weird
the
jump
second
scare. Was that
DLC.
a real dude? I have no idea what. Anyways, I'm
Get
hyped for
ready.
Alan Wake 2.
It happens very often in that game, that kind of jump scare. So
Oh shit. Okay. Well, I mean, it's paid for. It's coming. I can't wait. I love the first one. Hitman VR, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered. That got leaked previously, which sucks because that probably would have been the biggest thing at the showcase if people didn't already see the leak. So Sony should be really, really, really mad at whoever leaked that. They should be
yeah,
really. Oh wait, they leaked it.
themselves. I think it was in
Okay.
a PSN leak.
Yeah, it was on PSN. Great job. Fear the Spotlight. Can you remember what that is? I think that
It's
is.
Bloomhouse. The Fear
Oh,
Spotlight is one of
yes.
the
Right,
Bloomhouse
yeah.
games. Yeah.
Yes,
Blumhouse,
that
yeah.
actually looks cool. That's like a high school survival horror game. And Bloomhouse,
In the PS1 art style, kind of like Crow
yes,
Country. So
yes. Bloomhouse, if you're a horror fan, you probably have mixed feelings on Blumhouse. A lot of stuff they do is awesome. They do a lot of stuff that's not awesome too, but they are probably the biggest kind of curator or creator of horror content in like film. So I like them and I respect them, and I'm super hyped that they are getting into video games. So I actually am interested in checking that out. Towers of Agazba is an early access title coming to PSN. I think that's exclusive.
so far, but I was talking with Brian about this. Is this like it's very rare to see something announced for early access for PlayStation, because on Xbox is usually they have game preview for those games, and PlayStation doesn't have that officially.
Mhm.
But what I was
Yeah, but
thinking
when
of,
Xbox launches Power World in
uh,
early access and it blows up in January, and it's the biggest thing anyone's talking about, PlayStation's probably like, maybe we should probably do
mm,
that. I don't know
yeah,
if this has the same type of legs as Power World was, because I don't think there's any Pokemon in
yeah,
Towers of Agaspa, but it is coming. I think in January, early access.
no,
They
November,
were
November.
November. Okay,
Mhm.
I must have been confusing it with something else. They revealed the first controller of the event, the Fortnite controller, and then
Ugly
they
ass
also have.
controller.
Then they revealed 3 more controllers, which is really cool if you really are interested in new controllers. Dynasty Warriors Origin got a pretty cool trailer. I think this trailer was better than the original one that I think it was at the last State of Play, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The last State of Play revealed the game, and this was the release date.
What makes it an origin? Like, isn't Dynasty Warriors the same story every time? Like, what makes this the Origins? I don't understand.
It's the Origin because it's more appealing to someone who hasn't played to buy the Origin than it is to buy Dynasty Warriors 13.
I mean, Dynasty Warriors 9 was the last one, so there was already like names and spin-offs and all of that.
I mean, I've never played a Dynasty Warriors, but who knows? Maybe I'll give one a shot. My girlfriend is Chinese, so Three Kingdoms is like her cultural history, and so it's interesting. So maybe she'd be interested in watching that. She likes to watch me play.
Interesting if they could tell that story like in a good way, because they had that story told in Wolong, and it was just like, what is happening? Like they had it was anyway. I won't get into that. Who reviewed Wolong? Did I review Wolong? I can't even remember. I know I played a shit out of Wolong.
No one did in SG from what I remember.
I think I definitely was supposed to. Hopefully I did. I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to double check that. If I reviewed Wolong, make sure to check that out on seasongaming.com. I think I did. I can't remember. I was definitely supposed to though. After that, we got the 45th, I think, trailer for Monster Hunter Wilds.
Sounds about right.
Looks good. I will admit I am very tired of seeing it, although Monster Hunter fans are not.
You did review Wolong. I just pulled it up.
7.
A 7, yes.
7.
7, yeah.
I remember this stuff. I got a great
Soul of a Ninja was your
That's a good title because it's a Dark Souls type game, but it's made by Team Ninja.
With some Bloodborne people there. So.
My tagline for Aura was almost triumphant because triumphs are their version of wonders from Civ in the game. So I did a play on that.
I love mine from Autola, Scrappy Nerf Herder.
After Monster Hunter Wilds, we got the trailer for Lego Horizon, which I had no plans on buying, but because of Astrobot, I actually convinced my daughter to watch this with me so I could watch it at the time it was live instead of having to wait till they go to bed. And then she saw Lego Horizons and wants it, so now I have to buy it, which was not in my plans, but it does for all intents and purposes. I think it does look good. I think that
I love Horizon, so I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, and this is not even made, I don't think, by like Traveler's Tales. It's like
no, it's someone else. That's what's weird. So.
Yeah, but I think it does. It gets memed on a little bit, but I think it does look cool. And if they made like Lego Halo, like I would be hyped. I'd be so hyped. And I do like Horizon too, so it's not like I'm not that mad. It just wasn't in. It wasn't in my budget, but now it has to be.
So fun fact, quick about Horizon, Lego Horizon. There, I have a friend of mine who used to work for Lego. And
someone poked their head out.
That was my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who used to work for Lego, and he said that Lego Horizon is actually the first Lego game that has ever been made that is going to have Lego blocks for the ground textures, because all other Lego games had just like ground textures because they couldn't do it or whatever. And Lego Horizon is the first one that they actually got. The ground is now Lego as well as everything else.
Yeah, because Lego Star Wars Skywalker side, the ground was just like normal environment. It was just kind of like Lego stuff overimposed.
Yep, this is supposed to be the first Lego ground texture that Lego's done, at least according to my friend who was a Lego worker.
Cool. After Lego Horizon, they revealed the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. This was something that pretty much was confirmed through leaks that was happening, and they showed it off.
It's been 2 years since we've known about this one. That's when it first was reported.
So. Yeah, but it got reported and it was talked about, whatever. But then it got like rated by like the Korean, so it was like pretty much confirmed at that point. I really like Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that I was kind of in the camp of this is unnecessary, but it does look really, really good.
Next to next, I'm like, you put the work.
Unnecessary is not a problem as long as the price is not unreasonable. So $10 upgrade for owners of the base game, I think that's fine. I don't, everyone lost their minds over the $10 upgrades from PS4 to PS5 games that launched. I'm like, no, that takes work. I don't mind giving you $10 more. That's fine. And the same thing here. I have it digitally from I don't know, something. I have
PS3 to PS4 also did $10 upgrades.
Yeah,
the only reason why
No
The only
issue with
reason why
that sort of
people
thing.
lost their mind was because there was the smart delivery over on Xbox. So it was like, oh,
Well,
but these guys are
Xbox,
giving it for free. So
yeah, and it wasn't just like the Xbox One version plays. Almost all the games that they first party games from Xbox, they were like literally upgraded. Like textures changed, frame rate changed, features added. They even would like double the frame rate, triple or quadruple the resolution on 360 games. Like all
Right.
for
That's the back and pat program. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, but like that's why people, because I paid for the $10 to upgrade from like 360 COD Ghost to Xbox One COD Ghost, and I was hyped because that was like such a great deal. But then when the competition is doing all this stuff for free, that's where people start
Yeah.
to anyway. I don't think $10 is too much to ask. I think that
Not at all. I'm
They
down.
what
got
they
me. They got
what
me. I'm
they
the
showed
problem.
was more than I expected. I expected this to be like the Horizon Zero Dawn, but in a white like jewel case. But this is a pretty substantial upgrade. I think it looks better than Forbidden West,
It
maybe.
should.
Yes.
And it just it's great.
It's 2 years
And
removed from Forbidden West, and Forbidden West is cross-gen, same as God of War. So
yeah, and it may be worth noting this is kind of a nothing burger, but I've seen people talking about it. They did like a couple months ago, I think they pulled Horizon Zero Dawn from PS
Ah,
Plus,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then today
I
they
know where
just
you're going.
doubled the price of Horizon Zero Dawn if you don't already own it.
Yeah,
Now
I'll say
you should
most
have
this.
bought it
people do.
already.
Yeah, you should have bought it when it was down. Like, don't complain when you're buying the dip. That's what
Also, they gave it
Detective
for
Slick said.
free. They gave it for free during their play at home thing during COVID. So if you
Yeah.
didn't claim it when it was literally free for everyone on PlayStation Plus, that's your loss at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and I agree with that sentiment, but at the same time, I do still think it's a little bit greasy to raise the price of a four whatever many year old game. Obviously, there's a reason why they did it, and it's not because it's the best thing for the customer.
Yeah, they
So,
did the
but it is.
exact same
But
thing with The
like I
Last
said,
of Us.
the people that this is affecting is a very small amount of people
Yeah.
because either you already bought it when it came out, or you bought it for a deep sale in the however many years it's been around, or
Yep.
you got it for free literally during COVID. So. The amount of people that are going to be outraged by that, or affected, I should say, by that, outrage is a different story. Affected by that is probably very, very small, but I think it's worth noting.
Yeah, there's bigger like controversy over the fact that the face of Aloy, like in some of the comparisons, look like the AI filter of the non woke version.
I think Aloy looks great in both games. I think that
this is
whole
so funny.
discourse was so cringe. Anyway.
Mm.
They also showed something that's kind of confusing. It was like a Stellar Blade and Nier crossover DLC. I thought it was a skin for Stellar Blade, but some people were saying it's like DLC content. I don't know what
I don't
it is.
know.
Yeah,
I
They
still
haven't
kind of
really
think it's a
clarified
skin.
that.
yeah, I would have been okay just with the skin. That game is so near automata, it's not even funny.
I
Yeah.
never
Tries
played
to be
Nier,
near
but
so
I played
hard.
Silver Blade, so I don't know. But I have no idea. They didn't. I don't think they were clear. They didn't clarify what exactly it's going to be. So we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see what it is. I don't have any intention. I mean, I do want to do one more run for the platinum because that's all I need is one more run of the game. But I don't really have any major intentions to go back and pay attention to Stellar Blade right now because I'm done with it. It was great game.
Sweet. And then they showed a sizzle reel for PS5 Pro. One thing that's I think worth noting is, and we'll talk more about PS5 Pro in probably like 30 seconds, but they basically didn't mention it at all for the like 90% of this entire showcase. They never showed badges of this is a game running on PS5 Pro. They never had an end card that said PS5 Pro version available. It seems like they just I don't know. If you compare it to how like the PS4 Pro and that One X was kind of demoed and showcased and revealed and marketed, it feels like they are very, I don't know. I feel like the whole kind of mantra of PlayStation right now is like do the minimum, the bare minimum. And that's kind of what this showcase felt like.
Yeah.
But I'll talk more about that after. I just want to say after that sizzle reel, they had like the big reveal, the final reveal, which was Ghost of, is it they confirmed pronunciation yet?
Yote.
Yeah, it's Yote.
Ghost of Yote, which is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It takes place on a different island and has a different protagonist, which people were super understanding and reasonable about because it's a female now, and everybody thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
There was
Well, I
literally
think the outrage or whatever is over the person who is the voice of the new character. I think her name is Astru, whatever the main character.
Erika Ishi. Oh,
that's
yeah,
that is the performer. That yes, I'm trying. It's the main character because Erika Ishi, who's also the voice of American female Rook for the record in Dragon Age,
and Valkyrie, Apex.
Yeah,
and Anna Bray in Destiny.
Yeah, is someone who goes by they them pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is actually
That's
kind
the
of
outrage
shocking
over it.
information. She's somebody who's an actor in Hollywood and is like progressive and cares
Mhm.
about like
People living their
gender.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she's
I
an
think that I think
advocate for like people who are like
yeah. Well, I think that
disadvantaged. Like
No,
I just think
the
I think the
nothing.
concern, I think the annoyance for the outrage for the people is that when referring to Eric Ishii, you should not be saying she, you should be saying they
Mhm.
is what their preference would be, and that's the outrage there is that
Yeah.
people are
Yeah,
annoyed by that
I
sort
feel
of
more
thing.
people are outraged over the fact that they
Whatever.
were using Ghost of Tsushima as an example of like, look at giving us a male samurai, where Assassin's Creed Shadows is only giving you like a female assassin having Yasuke here,
I did see
and those
that.
same people are now
Yeah, I
kind
saw
of
that
like
too.
they got the universal card of now like their sequel to Ghost of Tsushima is now female. So,
I'm
I
excited. I think that looks
mhm.
awesome. I think that
Oh
Jin's
yeah.
story was good and Jin was a cool character, but I think that Jin was sufficiently wrapped up with the end
Hmm.
of Tsushima, and I'm good to move on.
Yeah, I think that well, first of all, I think the trailer was awesome. I think the
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
cinematography in the trailer was just mind-blowing. I have no problem with the female protagonist. I think
Me neither.
some of the best games that Sony has have female protagonists. I'm a
Yep.
huge fan of Last of Us 2, although I know that's kind of controversial.
Same here.
Horizon also really good. There's it literally means nothing to me.
No,
Joanna
not at
Dark's
all.
about to be in a big game. She's like it doesn't matter. In terms of the voice actress, all I know about them is that they are super talented. Like
Yeah.
every single role they have had, I've loved. So
Yeah.
like really doesn't
Give me
bother
more
me
of
at
their
all.
roles.
Yeah, like you're talking about someone who has had like roles in some of the biggest games that exist. So
Yeah.
clearly they're talented. Clearly,
Yep.
like they were cast for a reason. You're talking about a team who made like the swan song and one of the most celebrated titles of the PS4.
Yeah.
I think you should just probably trust them since they have
Hmm.
no reason for you not to.
Yeah,
And maybe
I
they
agree.
will.
I think that it's going to be excellent. Tsushima was one of the best PS4 games. Definitely, it was definitely the most beautiful PS4 game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny for me. Like I'm coming into this sequel as a. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima was like my least favorite of like the top tier exclusives. I still thought it was great, but I preferred God of War. I preferred Horizon. I preferred Spider Man. I preferred Uncharted 4. I prefer like a bunch of the ones that are considered like big names. Like Tsushima was the one that back then I was like the most indifferent about. I played it, I platinumed it, enjoyed it, and I kind of like moved on because I didn't find Jin that interesting of a character, but I loved its world. And the fact that this is like a new character, kind of like a new start for me, did more for me than I was expecting, because I
yeah.
was like, if this had just been Ghost of Tsushima 2, my reaction would have been like, cool, I play it when it's out, I'll platinum it and just move on. And the
Ghost of
fact that it's like,
Tsushima.
yeah, but now it's like that. Now that we know that Ghost
They should have
is
done
that
that.
is the brand now, it's kind of like, oh, this kind of like the Assassin's Creed style of kind of like years apart of like kind of like a
Yeah,
legacy being like
300
carried.
years.
Yeah, 300 years apart. So there's no way to do like a legit crossover unless it's like a
Time
Altair
travel.
to Ezio, like an Altair to Ezio thing.
Yeah.
And the world, how it looked, like I'm more of a mountain guy than island guy. So how this looked was like, oh, this is more of more of my style. So I was
Yeah.
more excited for this than if it had just been like a Ghost of Tsushima 2.
So
So
you're saying there could be a Ghost of Canada one day?
maybe, who knows? Ghost of
Ooh.
Yeti.
Isn't that everyone in Canada? Aren't most Canadians pale from no sun?
We're very multicultural here. There's a lot of different colors.
Ghost
I
of the
am very
Tundra.
pale.
Ghost
Ghost
of
of
the
the
Tundra.
Tundra.
I actually am not as pale as I look. I have a really bright monitor, white
Yeah.
screen, Google Doc. Anyway, but yeah, that's the state of play. I'll get my quick thoughts and I'll get your opinions on it because I know that you guys are probably more Sony fans than
Hmm.
I am, even though I'm definitely a Sony fan. But right now, I'm kind of a little bit annoyed. I said earlier that I think that the mantra at Sony right now is do the bare minimum. I think that they feel like they have this massive lead in install base, which they do, and I think that they're coasting right now. And I see a lot of commentary about like I would say this showcase. This is like what I hear. People say, I think since it's a state of play and not a showcase, that it's good. Which technically I would agree with. I would say that that is a fair statement. But when you're not doing showcases at all, then
Hmm.
this is your showcase. This is your
Hmm.
showcase. This is how you present the future of PlayStation to your customers, to us. And if Xbox decides to do it differently and do a showcase like they did in the summer, then I kind of expect you to do that, and they don't do that.
No.
They do the bare minimum, which is what this
Yep.
was. I think that there was no way that they could have this showcase and not show at least one like unannounced first party thing. And so they did show at least one because that is the bare minimum. And you could even tie this into the PS5 Pro, where if you look at the redesign, it literally looks identical to a PS5 Slim. They did the
With
bare minimum in
three
designing it. I'm
stripes.
talking about the aesthetics, by the way, not
Mhm.
like the internals. Obviously, internals are way different. But if you compare that to PS4 or One X, where they clearly spent a lot of effort in the design of it, it's just all these little things keep kind of piling up. And I just really wish that they would not take their foot off the gas pedal and just compete as hard as they can. Just like Xbox is doing right now, because Xbox not only had, and this is subjective, but I think their showcase in the summer was the best showcase that anyone's ever had. Just for me personally, the type of games I like, it was just nonstop game. It was crazy. And then on top of that, they have a Gamescom showcase, and then they have this Tokyo one, which obviously those are smaller, but they just are relentlessly kind of showcasing stuff. And
They're
Sony,
showcasing stuff, but they're not releasing the stuff and hitting yet. That's
Yes,
the
thank you,
kicker,
Don. I
right?
was gonna say that. That's
'Cause
kind of like the one.
they can show all they want. You could show anything in the world, but unless you're actually hitting the releases and they're quality games hitting the releases, your showcases don't mean anything to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
that's fair, but like at the same time, they're not releasing like Concord, or they're not doing like things like this. So it's not like Sony's hitting everything either.
No, it's
And
not.
No,
But that's my
it's not.
point. Is the commentary of Xbox is their showcases are incredible. Like, yeah, they have great showcases. I think the showcases are really cool. But I see their showcases and I don't get any. I don't get this. Oh boy, we're in for the good stuff soon, because they've been having good showcases for 3 years and
Yeah.
we've gotten what?
Yeah.
What have we gotten?
Yeah, the pattern with Xbox is always this.
Hellblade.
Like Xbox has gotten into like almost a 3-year pattern of next year's the year, next year's the year, next year's the year, next
Yeah.
year's the year. And then when you really see that the showcase that I really enjoyed, because it was like we got the most substantial looks at many games that were revealed all the way back in 2020. We're in 2024 now. And a bunch of those games like we're getting close, but still not quite there yet. Like with something like with Perfect Dark.
Fable.
That's still early. Fable, we kind of know they kind of already reconfirmed that they're aiming for 2025, so it's kind of getting there. It's like we're seeing kind of like two completely opposite sides. Where like for example, Xbox still has a lot in the pipeline that you know it's still coming, but a lot of people like living kind of like in the now, and that's kind of like the weird thing of like where PlayStation this year has kind of like hit an ace in the hole, considering they have not had like first party hits. How they like stack the release things with what you can play right now or imminent.
well, they money hat them. They pay for them to not launch on Xbox.
Exactly, for the things that they money had it or their second party.
Which I would rather them invest
stuff.
that money into new things, because I don't think that preventing Rise of the Ronin from coming onto Xbox sells any more copies of it to
It depends on what the money's doing, though, because sometimes you're using money to help the game work. So like Wukong being the most recent example, obviously Sony did not buy an exclusivity deal for Wukong. I think anyone saying that is ridiculous. If they want to say that they gave them money to help the thing on PlayStation and that's why it released on PlayStation, not on Xbox, sure, that's because they gave them the money to help the game work, and that's helping the game be developed and helping it function better, and that's great. But I don't think that has anything to do with money hatting in that case. They're simply assisting these third parties in development. Now, sometimes, like Rise of the Ronin, they just gave them money and they bought the exclusive.
Stellar Blade.
Yeah, Stellar Blade. But Stellar Blade, they published. They published Stellar Blade.
But big case, Stellar Blade was going to be on Xbox when it first announced back in 2019. Then it went dormant, and then it reemerged as a PS5 second party.
And Sony published it. PlayStation published that game. Second party publishing relationships are different than third party money hats. And Rise of the Ronin, I don't remember if that's a third party money hat or a second party publishing deal offhand, but they're different.
It's similar to Neo. It's kind of like in that same Neo pocket because it's kind of like the same way. Like they partner up with Team Ninja to release them. Right. That's still not on Xbox.
And so it's different. It's not like they're just like Square and the Final Fantasy games. That's a money hat. That's a straight up, we're going to buy pay you to not put it on these other games. And to the Square's benefit, they get to focus and develop for the console alone, and it helps things and do incredible.
But then they report
like
that they haven't met financial
expectations.
Yeah,
right.
They don't want to do it anymore because it was a really bad thing for them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a bad thing on the finance side, but it makes a really, really, really awesome game because they didn't have to
Mhm.
focus outside of
And
one
they got it
project.
out quick, and that's what I said, how they got
Yeah,
a Reverse that game's so massive that it's kind of insane. Like some people, when you talk how massive Reverse, they don't know. Sometimes don't even grasp how massive that
yeah.
game really is, or how quick they made it.
Exactly. And
So
so there is a level, and I agree with you, Eric, that I would rather Sony stop money hatting games and start investing in their own studios and start producing first party games. Absolutely. I think that's better. But I'm not going to get mad at them for helping other games function. Second party deals, I'm good with a second party deal because they're helping these games that otherwise just need
yeah,
more money come to market.
look at Ara. Ara is technically second party. I've been saying it's like Xbox, do more second party stuff. If you
Yeah.
need to kind of like fill up the schedule, do that.
Well,
It's like you're
they
totally
published.
allowed.
Didn't they not publish Ara? I think they funded the entire game.
It's
Yeah,
but it's a
yeah.
second
So
party game
it's
because
a
they don't
second
own
party.
Oxide.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that's kind of like uh you just said it. Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
Except
mhm,
Ara wasn't revealed to be coming to PlayStation, and then they.
Right.
yeah.
My
Anyway,
best guess for Stellar Blade is Stellar Blade ran into some dev issues and some budget issues, and Sony went in and said, "Hey, let's do this. Here's the money to make it work." Because Stellar Blade is fantastic.
Mhm,
yeah, I guess like circling it back to like the what they're showing and what Xbox showing, what Sony's not showing. The studios at Xbox, like what they've shown, like okay, Doom Dark Ages hasn't released yet.
mhm,
Like Fable hasn't released yet. Um, like Clockwork Revolution hasn't released yet. But these games are coming from teams that have a really massive pedigree, and so I have faith that they're going to be good. Just like if they released what Santa Monica or what Naughty
mhm.
Dog or what like whomever is working on, I would be fully trusting that those games are going to be awesome as well.
I
So I
have
get what
faith
you're
in the
saying that Xbox hasn't, but these teams like that they acquired have this long pedigree of, and even the internal Xbox teams, like what was the last bad game that the Coalition made? They had never made a bad game, and
Mhm.
so
yeah.
that showing us E-Day, that's super exciting for me, and I
I
wish that
think people didn't
Sony
like
would do the
Gears
same
4
thing.
very much, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're more like in the. It's
Well,
like
people
it's
didn't
not
like
much of
Spider-Man 2 very much, and people
I
didn't like
yeah,
agree. Yeah,
Ragnarok very
yeah.
much,
I'm right
but they
there.
still
I'm
got.
with Hogue on that one. That was a super disappointing game for sure.
Yeah, but critically speaking, they still get
Yeah.
mid to high
Mhm.
eights or
Uh,
higher. So like it's
but
still critically
I
good.
Spider-Man 2 is a 90, and I still don't understand how.
Yeah,
But
I really think that the concern over those games is, Eric, not the studios that are making the games, but the fact that Xbox doesn't seem to know how to shepherd games. Because
Mhm.
you have games like Hellblade that are announced at the reveal of the Xbox, and it turns out that it's an 8-hour game that's mostly a movie, from what I understand. You have
It's like
games
the
like
first one.
Starfield that are come from Bethesda, the makers of Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout, and they come out with Starfield, which at best is good, which it should have been phenomenal because it's Bethesda. And I think that you have a team like Arcane who made Deathloop and Dishonored, and I haven't played Deathloop, but
Prey.
Dishonored is one of my favorites, and they release Redfall. And so I think that you just need to,
But they
not
released
you.
Deathloop under Microsoft, if you want to equate that. Because these games that we're talking about were like fully envisioned and they were super far through development when Xbox acquired them. So
Yeah,
Deathloop, Xbox owned Deathloop or Bethesda when they released Deathloop. So that game that got 10 out of 10 on IGN, that was an Xbox
Yeah,
game.
it
Same with
was.
Psychonauts 2, which was super highly reviewed. Same with Pentiment. Grounded, I don't know if that reviewed well, but I liked Grounded. But Pentiment,
not the not
Psychonauts
not
2,
early access, but it reviewed well when it got out
Yeah,
of
yeah,
into
reviewed later.
1.0.
Yeah,
Forza's, all the Forzas have been great. Forza
yeah.
5, Horizon 5 was a 10 out of 10 on IGN as well. Like Halo Infinite probably wins Game of the Year in 2021. So I don't necessarily buy into the fact that Xbox can't release good games because I think that they
I
are.
just don't think they know how to shepherd games yet. I
Yes,
think
and
that
the thing is
they
that
don't have.
the oh yeah, sorry,
I was just gonna
finish
say
on.
that I don't think that their management of getting games out the door in spotting. I mean, Phil Spencer said in that interview what, like a week or two ago, where he says, "I guess I've missed some pretty big good games out there." Like he has admitted in person, like, to people, saying that he has bad taste in picking what games are going to be hits or not hits when it comes to third party relationships. And I think that kind of travels into his whole leadership team with Matt Booty. Not, I mean, you should have seen Redfall for what it was, and to be
Yeah,
fair, Sony should have seen Concord for what it was too. Like,
hmm
these teams they're not infallible, but Xbox has not released Astrobot in the same way that uh, Xbox and Sony both released Concord and uh,
And Redfall.
Redfall. Like there's
Yeah.
just a leadership shepherding problem. And one of the things that I think that I agree with Hogue and versus Travis when they talk on the Season Gaming Bitcast is that every game that Xbox releases that gets a delay or that takes too long is an opportunity cost of money and time of those developers to develop a different game. Redfall should have been stopped. Concord should have been stopped. These games
Mhm.
need people, these games companies, the publishers need people at the head who are able to see the market and not chase the market. They need to see what's going to work and what's not going to work and see when a game is going to be broken and bad. Because Concord wasn't broken and bad the way that Redfall was broken and bad. Concord just missed the market. Whereas Redfall was actually broken a lot, to a lot of people who played it. And so that's the difference is the shepherds of these publishers need to shape up. And so far, Sony has the tendency to shepherd an occasional good game out the door right now, or an occasional amazing game in the case of like a Horizon. And Xbox hasn't done that too frequently with its purchased studios. You're right that its internal studios have done wonderful things with its Forza and its and Halo Infinite, to some extent Halo Infinite and Gears in the past. So I just want these studios that are owned by Xbox now to be shepherded properly.
My thing is, I don't know if those games that have
Success.
been purchased by Xbox and then you equate like failures of like Redfall and Starfield to being Xbox being unable to shepherd them. When these games were so far into development, like I agree, Redfall probably should have been stopped, but at the same time, there are people that did like Redfall. It did sell, not good, but it didn't sell like 25,000 copies that could
Yeah,
be
sure.
funded,
Mhm.
and whatever. It was still a disaster. Ultimately, the studio collapsed, but there's a lot of other stuff that
Mhm.
happened to the studio too. I think the whole decision to make that studio make a multiplayer game from the jump was a bad one.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
like the games like Fallout 76 had come out from Bethesda before Xbox purchased it and I mean that game has amazing community and it's grown into a big success story
Thanks
at
to the
the end
TV
of the
show.
at the end of the thing, but at the beginning it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so like these games were like you can make the argument that you're making and it makes sense, but I think you could also make the argument that anything that's come out so far from the acquisitions outside of maybe like the smaller acquisitions like Obsidian or Ninja Theory or the one I can't remember right now off the top of my head, they did Wasteland 3,
In
or maybe
Exile.
Clock
In Exile.
in Exile. Like those ones are a little bit different, I would say, but like from Bethesda, like those games were so far in development that there's not a
Yeah.
lot that
Yeah.
Xbox can do at that point
Sure.
to turn the ship other than like I guess cancel Redfall or something like that.
Give it more
So
time. You could get
Yeah.
Xbox can give any game it wants as much time as it needs. If someone went into Redfall, if they went into Arcane and they saw Redfall and they were like, "Oh, this is not going to work like this. Take an extra year," or "No, this is never going to work. Cancel it." Like you can always give a game more time
yeah,
to
and
try
I
and fix
agree,
it
and
from
I
the
think
publisher
that
end.
yeah, and I totally agree, and I think that that is something they probably should have done, but I think that both teams do that, and
Yeah.
I'm not like equating this to you necessarily because there's a lot of rhetoric out there about how Xbox can't manage studios, they can't release games, all the games suck on Xbox, yada yada. They don't have the same quality as games as Sony. But for me, as somebody who plays a lot of Xbox and follows it a lot, like I see things like Psychonauts, like Hi-Fi Rush,
Mhm.
like Halo Infinite, like uh the Age of Empires remasters, which I know doesn't get a lot of credit, but those are amazing. There's a lot of stuff that they do that is really good that they don't like. It doesn't get as highlighted as the flops do, and I think it's kind of in reverse for Sony, except for
And that's kind
Concord,
of
which
like the
is
thing
now
with
kind of
Xbox.
breaking the seal.
The weird thing about Xbox, especially this generation, is that they have done so well with like the smaller stuff, like how you mentioned with the second and all
Yeah.
of that. And then, like for example, a Forza Horizon 5 that gets like a 10 in IGN and all that is like that is equated to like, okay, yeah, the one first party thing that even in the Xbox One generation, that was the one thing that was reliably great for you. Still
Burger
continually
fries and
reliably
shake, as
great.
Lord Cognito says. The burger fries and shake.
Yes, but then like the big stuff that they knew they pushed, like for example Starfield, that they got a freaking developer 45-minute developer direct in the last showcase, that you
But
know they were
Starfield's like
pushing
a
that as their
80
big.
middle 80s meta too, so I
No,
don't
yeah,
consider
and that's the thing,
Starfield to
like
be bad or a
no,
failure.
and it's
Or I think
and
it's
it's not
Not bad
bad.
at all. Not bad at
It's
all.
not bad at all,
Not
but
a failure.
it's the sequel from the guys that made Skyrim high 90s also. So it's
Right.
like
and the
when
Fallout
people
76.
Yeah, and also Fallout
Well,
76.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
even I don't even think you can do that. I don't Todd stepping on stage to talk Fallout 76 was
Mhm.
trying to save face when they knew it was bad. Fallout 76 is not Bethesda's internal main team
Yeah,
there.
that
It's
was the
not.
other, and not the team that was making that mobile that got canceled. I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah,
So
that was like Todd putting his face to it because it's Fallout, but that was not the primary Bethesda team that did 76, and that's known. So I don't even fault Bethesda for that. But Eric, I just want to say that I think that the games that Xbox has announced, I think a lot of them look good. I'm so excited for Avowed. I love the Pillars world. I just this summer played Pillars 2. I played Pillars 1 a number of years ago. I'm excited. I like the Outer Worlds. I'm excited for some of those games. I just want to see it happen first. I don't have the blind faith that it's going to be good just because the studio it has done good things in the past, because I don't have faith that Xbox is shepherding them properly yet. And then maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong, and I would love to be wrong because Sony hasn't shepherded great things all the time either.
Mhm.
Concord was a disaster, like we've
Mhm.
said. But if Gorilla comes out and says Horizon, I don't know,
3.
Forbidden West 2 or whatever they
The
decide to,
Forbidden
yeah,
East.
yeah, the Forbidden East, the other side of the ocean. I think that I have more faith in that because it's got a studio track record, plus it has been shown that that studio under this publisher is a good combination, because any game development is a combination of publisher and studio and a relationship between them. And I feel like I'm in the movie In Good Company when they're talking about synergy, and he does this and he says synergy. That's a movie with Dennis Quaid from a number of years ago with Scarlett Johansson. Anyway, uh, they're always it's always a relationship between the publisher and the developer, and a developer can be amazing, but if the publisher doesn't have their back, or if the publisher is pushing bad ideas or failures into the developers, that's bad too. And
Do you
so
think that sorry to interrupt if you're keep going.
that's it. So I think that I have faith in the partnership between Sony and Gorilla more than I have in, say, Machine and Xbox right now. But maybe that'll change because they haven't
So
released anything yet. Go
so
ahead.
do you think that it matters that the entire like head and brain of the publisher is completely different than the people that were shepherding Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West? Like it's not Jim Ryan anymore. It's Hiroki Totoki and it's Herman Holst, and those are the people that were like the big pushers for things like Concord,
I mean,
things
in
like
this specific example, I don't, because Horizon as a series is Herman's baby.
Herman's
So
baby.
in that
Mhm.
instance, I don't. But if we were talking something like God of War, like Sony Santa
or
Monica
Ghost 2.
or Ghost
Mhm.
2, yeah, I would have some slight concerns over that, because we did lose people like what's David Jaffe talks about, Connie Booth, is that
Connie
the one?
Booth. Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Connie Booth is gone, and Sean Layden has long gone at this point, and so some of these people who were around when these franchises were started, yeah, I do have some concerns over that because the leadership is different at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
and also the goodwill tanks between both brands is also different. Obviously, like right now, the PS5 is absolutely still riding the PS4 goodwill tank.
mhm,
It's a bunch of the games that have come out. Most have been sequels of things that have been loved
sure have.
in the previous generation. So it's like at the release has been that it has been that. Right now, we're finally seeing cracks on the decision making that has been like happening that gave us
Right, for the
Concord.
new things. The new things
For
are where
like
the
the
problem are right now. The
yeah.
sequels have been okay.
Yeah, so it's like right now it's like the where it's different that we come from an Xbox One generation that was like objectively bad, and right now they're taking out the rhetoric aside of like where social media is right now.
Yeah,
Xbox has definitely improved where they were. It's just that then like the things that they need to, the definitive bombs, I feel like those are the ones that they have not hit. Like the small stuff has like hit with like with a plum, like with Hi-Fi Rush and all that. And even then, like we have seen this brand constantly step on rakes because they won't shut the f up all the time, that it feels like anything that they do to start building goodwill is like they undermine it so quickly by things totally under control or sometimes outside of their control, that it feels like Xbox is like in this, it's still being proven in the eyes of many that are not like inside that ecosystem.
yeah.
So it's like I feel like they totally deserve praise for shepherding the end of Deathloop into like what it was, just as much as they deserve like all the fire for Redfall being like
Mhm.
what that was. I feel like they have to own the wins and they have to own the losses. And objectively, is
Yes.
like until Concord, it's like the ratio between both brands. Like there have been like more quote unquote either big misses or slight misses in the Xbox side in a brand that is still, because you're like the challenger brand and you're still trying to prove
Yeah, I
yourself
mean,
in a way. So
Concord is Sony's biggest and probably their only true failure
in like
other
2
than
decades.
PSVR 2, if you
Yeah.
want to think of it that way. Speaking
Mhm.
as an owner of PSVR 2, who freaking right here has the PC adapter for it for whenever I bring it
Yeah,
up
the
here with me.
$60 adapter that I saw at the direct.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Concord is really Sony's biggest flop that they've had ever, and the biggest one, and the only true flop in a long time, I think, unless
Mhm.
I'm blanking on another flop of
A
a
lot of their
game.
flops are
Drive Club.
second party.
What
Yeah,
was
A lot of,
that?
Drive.
I said a lot of their like pretty much anytime they try to, um,
Jump on
and
the
to
Online
train.
stuff.
to a lesser extent when they try to branch out of their kind of formula of games, like into
Yep.
different genres, but
Mhm.
mostly when they try to jump into service games, and a
Yep.
lot of that
Yeah.
risk is taken by other developers. So things like
Mhm.
Babylon's Fall, Destruction All Stars, I would say are both flops, and then you have
Yeah.
Concord,
Mhm.
which I
Yeah.
would say is kind of a flop.
Yeah,
And
and
Yeah. I
Concourse
forgot
Cyberpunk,
felt bigger
Destruction All
because
Stars.
yeah, and Concourse felt bigger because it is first party. They have
Yep.
managed to like keep the flops kind of like in the second party realm, even all the way back in the PS4 era, where they also tried a bunch of free to play
Megan,
stuff in San Diego.
Yeah. So
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm excited to see what Xbox's showcases turn into. I don't want to play that down. I think that Xbox has a great potential coming up in 2025. I hope they hit it. Hitting it would be wonderful because I have a PC. I'm gonna play all their games right here in this very
yeah,
chair. I'm gonna play Avowed, and well, maybe I'll play it on my big TV over
yeah,
there. But
and
the
I
point is,
and,
I'm gonna play their games because I think that they have a really, really great potential to
mhm.
be excellent, and I hope they are. I just don't know for sure yet.
yeah,
Yeah, and the potential is the thing that Xbox kind of like rely on, because at least we know. And the thing with Sony that I think I really would love for them to like pick a lane now, because it's like, okay, 2022 no showcases but 3 state of plays, 2023 two state of plays, 1 showcase, and a showcase that one would argue was like a very meaty
Horrible,
state of
horrible.
play, horrible showcase in the context of you didn't give us anything in 2022, but it's like this felt like a meteor state of play when you look at what it actually ended up being. That it's been like a pattern now that
I don't think
they
Sony's
they
had a
live
good
like,
presentation since they announced the PS5. Like that was the
yeah.
only I watched that PS5 reveal like 4 times with different reaction channels because I
Mhm.
loved it so much. I don't think they've had a better one
Yeah,
since then,
because
which
that
is a
was they
shame.
also, yeah,
I
they set
agree.
an expectation where that was the only showcase in the PS5 era that was like 80% first party.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, and they are now like, I feel like now we're in the middle generation. They're finally, the long development cycles are catching up to them.
Mhm.
The bloated budgets, that means that these games take much longer to make because of the endless like pursuit of like more visual fidelity and all that, when we have reached a super good like a super good level
Yeah.
where we are now. That I feel like they have now like reached where that point where everything's taking so long and nothing can really line up how it should for like a bonanza showcase like this, because they do their kind of game.
They just need more
But
studios. They need more
yeah,
studios who are not building live service games to focus on building the kind of games that Sony specializes in.
yeah,
Xbox has the studio uh, lineup that
bread.
Sony needs to really keep a proper schedule of a proper cadence of releases. If Sony
Yeah.
had the number of studios, or not even the number, if Sony had half the number of studios that Xbox has, they could be keeping somewhat of an okay cadence in things. But Sony has 10 studios, 12 studios, really. That's it. And Xbox has like 40, I think, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. They're
30
like
something. It's more like 30
yeah,
something. So
Sony. If Sony had more studios, they could keep up that cadence. They just don't have that because they don't have those resources, and that's fair. But we,
mhm.
as the people, and I said this on Alex's podcast, Eric, that I don't mind Sony not talking, because if Sony's not talking, it means they're just working. Talk when you have something and stop talking when you don't have anything. I don't need stupid showcases or stupid state of plays with nonsense in them. You want to show me Ghost of Yote? That's amazing. I love Ghost of Yote. You can just announce that game. I don't need to have 25 minutes or 30 minutes before that of nonsense. And I'm even saying that about Dragon Age because I love Dragon Age and I didn't watch that
Mhm.
trailer. I closed my eyes and muted the TV and didn't turn it
Smart.
on until it was over because I'm not going to watch
Yeah,
that
I have
trailer
such
there. It's
a, yeah,
fine.
and I have such a different tenure when I come into like this state of plays, because I have really analyzed how I engage in the PS5, because that is my ecosystem, and it's like I see the state of plays as okay. I know it's not just first party. What are the other things that I'm gonna be playing in the lead up to that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And because I like trying a lot of the eclectic shit that they like putting out, I tend to like be more understanding of having this kind of state of plays, the things that I've been noticing is that now state of play has become the place where they're announcing first party stuff. That didn't used to happen before. It was like it was always showcase the first time you heard, and then state of plays was like your first maybe like in-depth look. And now it's like we've gotten like to the point where the first meaty look of Death Stranding was in the January state of play, and that's out in 2025. Astrobot revealed officially first look and revealed this past May, and that state of play that was pretty bad, but it's like that thing was out in 3 months. Now we got like the now we got Ghost of Yote announced now. It's coming out in 2025. It feels like they are testing the waters to see if they can be Nintendo. Maybe not like the amount of breadth of things, but kind of like holding stuff to be announced to be released in short order within like months or maybe like a year.
Yeah.
It's like patterns is start being noticing, and that's a pattern that I'm noticing now. And now we're like under a new leadership. And it's funny that it's like the state of play also. Think about how state of plays were early this generation, where it was like a disembodied voice, and now state of plays have people in them, very Nintendo Direct like. And now that's why I'm like, okay, it's like you're putting more effort into your state of play. The game show may or may not be of your taste, but now I kind of need the heads to come out and let us know. Be like, will showcases still be a thing? Are you trying to maybe embellish your state of plays? Because right now they like in showcase season, PlayStation is the one that has an identity crisis. With Xbox, at least we know January developer direct to at least get an idea of the year, and then the June showcase. That's kind of like the thing. That's like the two beats, and then they have their not consistently, but they get their idea at Xbox thing where they can touch on indies or maybe third parties. Nintendo, we know it's Nintendo Direct is where they do 3 or 4 a year. And that's been the thing. They have not done like a big main showcase like almost ever. The last time that they attempted that was trying to reveal the Nintendo Switch price, and that didn't go well for them in early January 2017. But a Nintendo Direct always went well for them. So it's like everyone just expects Nintendo Directs, and they have built Nintendo Directs to be the thing that you always notice. And Sony having that kind of like identity crisis where showcases are not consistent, but they still kind of do them, and having state of plays where we had pretty bad ones before, and now we've like seeing like improvements in some areas. So we just need to like, I just need them to pick a lane and be like, is this what you want to do? I personally don't mind getting to learn new first party stuff like right now. I know that it's imminent because I'm at the point where I think I'm too old for the long hype cycle at this point. I just want to play my games, and I've been playing a bunch of stuff this year.
Yeah,
that has been like announced within.
We've all been playing tons of games, so
yeah. So I rather that than like the long hype cycle, especially when we really think about like the Xbox thing. Is like this was the first time we got media looks of things that go back all the way to 2019 and 2020. So it's like, do we really still need that? And
see,
I think
I'm the complete opposite. I want that, and
Oh.
to kind of circle back to the whole thing I was
Mhm.
trying to say, I totally agree that they have to deliver. Like that, I kind of view that as a separate thing because I'm someone who just gets hyped. Like I go into every presentation excited, and normally I leave excited because I also have kind of low expectations, or not low expectations, but low standards. Like you can get me excited pretty easily, and I don't know. I became a massive fan of PlayStation in 2016 when I got a PS4. So my only recollection and memory of being a massive PlayStation fan is like when they were literally at like
banger,
the peak.
banger.
Banger. So I'm used to going into E3, which they left, and just seeing mind blowing shit all the time. And now it's literally not that. And I definitely agree on the studios thing. Like they're never going to be able to go shot for shot with Xbox in terms of trailers and reveals and stuff like that because Xbox has way more ammo. They spent way more money, and it's just not fair. It's not like an even thing, but I do still think that they could do more. I think if a studio has been working on something for 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, and I'm not a game developer, but in my opinion, I think that there's probably something that can be shown, even if it's a teaser or something like that. And I just wish
I
that
agree. I do agree that it's not bad to show things early in some ways. You know, as long as you know that a game is gonna happen. Like I was so excited when Dragon Age 4 at the time was revealed in 2018 at the Game Awards, just because I knew that Dragon Age was in existence. And once I did that, my body and brain just went into stasis until 2024. Like that's that's it. I like to know that things exist because the games industry is so secretive and so hush hush, leaks and all. I suppose you never know whether a thing exists, and that's the most important thing. Is this thing going to exist or not? Was it greenlit? Did it make enough money to get a sequel? That's the most important thing when it comes to old IP and a new IP. It's, you know, obviously you don't want to have an agent situation where Rockstar announces
Oh
agent
yeah.
on stage and it never is
Or
heard from again.
or
Damn,
the Elder
damn.
Scrolls, whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
6,
that was
yeah.
the thing with like why State of Plays used to be so bad before. There was barely any first party, if at all, that would never
Yeah.
show up there. That was just third party check-ins.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing them finally start to sprinkle that. So that's why I'm like, is this the directive of the new leadership where they know that they have these things, and maybe in your kind of like boat, Don, of like maybe just at least say it in one of these so that at least people know that it
Yeah.
exists, because we have our 3 beats that now I don't want anyone to ever say again that Sony is just forever in silence, because they, at least we know now this happened consistently. They will talk to you 3 times in a year, all the time. That has been that they have said that pattern now over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's just not showcased,
Depends on
and that's why I wonder.
definition of
Yeah,
talking. Like it's
yeah,
kind of more so what they're talking about.
Yeah, like
exactly,
maybe they're
exactly.
talking about the Pro, right? Like
Yeah,
and then put it on sale and not tell you when the what it's going to cost for the fancy
exactly.
editions, or
Yeah.
not give you any notice of what time it's going to go live, and then make everyone get
Yeah,
in line and wait and be frustrated and then
yeah.
sad all day long. Today was not
Hmm.
a fun day, guys. Today
Yeah,
was not a
exactly.
fun
Oh
day.
yeah, oh yeah. It
Yeah.
was annoying, but that's what I was saying. Like my last thing, like Sony just pick a lane now. I'm seeing patterns now that, to me personally, if every State of Play means now official first party check-in, I'm okay. But other than that, it's like then pick a lane. So tell us if you're gonna do showcase, so people stop asking for you. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just final thoughts. And to me, it kind of, and this is just could be completely wrong. And it honestly probably is completely wrong. But to me, it feels like they don't feel any pressure to have to like garner excitement by doing things. Because if you talk about 2020
mhm,
showcase, the sizzle thing at the end, the ender, the big swing at the end was just a JPEG that said God of War Ragnarok, right?
mhm,
It wasn't anything but me and probably you, super
mhm, for
fans of
me
2018,
specifically.
mind blown. And that's all I need. But I feel like they don't feel they need to get that kind of hype, and they don't want to be in a situation where they show that JPEG of the Last of Us factions at the Summer Games Fest and then have to delete the whole game afterwards. I think
Yeah, that's
they
fair.
kind of
Yeah.
want to have the ability. I don't think anything that's in development, at least at the big studios, has any risk of being canceled, like whatever
Mhm,
Santa Monica's doing or anything like that. But I think they don't. They want to have the option to be able to secretly like brush that away if they need to.
Yeah.
And I just think from a fan's perspective, who wants to go into these showcases, who wants to see a Sony showcase, wants to get like super hyped, which is not what everybody wants, but that's just what I want. I think that I don't know. I wish that they showed more. But anyways, let's move on a little bit. We can quickly talk about PS5 Pro. Now, I don't want to get into the whole
mhm,
discussion about it. Does it cost too much? Does it not
yeah.
cost too much? I think that people will buy it at any price. Doesn't matter. I think that if you are releasing a console, I think there's this magic kind of uh, I guess soft cap of like $500 and no one's really had much success going over that. I think the whole point of the pro consoles from last gen was because the base models had gone down so far. They've decreased in price. They had slim models. The economics of the planet allowed for that to happen, and then the on top of them launching kind of weaker, like the PS4 and Xbox One were kind of
Hmm.
weaker that
Mhm,
it could buy in comparison than the 360 was. There was a power gap that they could fill, and they still had room to hit that $500 mark. I think that's why there's outrage
And
because
they
it's
didn't even sell it
well,
at 500. They sold it at 4 again. So
mhm.
I think the one I'm confused because I'm Canadian.
The One X
One
was
X,
500.
yeah,
The PS4 Pro was 400. It was the exact launch price of the
yeah.
PS4.
yeah. So they had this window that they could get back up to that soft cap. They had this power. They had room to add more power because they launched them weaker. I think it was a perfect storm. I think now where the economics don't allow for the consoles to get cheaper. In fact, most of the time they're
Mhm,
more expensive in most regions. The power vacuum is kind of there, but the price gap is not. And I think that's why Xbox didn't do it. Sony, I think that they just did it last year, so they're doing it this year, and they're going to sell some because people are going to buy it at any price. I
But are they
think
going to
that
sell enough? Because right now on PS Direct, you can still buy a Pro
Thank you.
in
I
the
have it in
US.
cart. Yeah, I have it in cart still. I'm still staring
It
at it
is
because I've been
still
kind of
yeah.
looking.
completely available, the base one at
Mhm,
I
$700.
checked Best Buy here in Canada before we started recording, and it is still available there. I actually went to GameStop today, and I asked the clerk about it because I'm kind of like friends with him, um, and he said somebody showed up last night around supper time and asked how many they were going to get, and they were allocated 20 pre-orders, and so the guy
mhm.
slept there all night. Like he literally slept outside in the Canadian fall, which is probably like the American winter.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then he pre-ordered it first thing as soon as they open. And then I asked him how many are left. He's like, "Oh, we only took 9 pre-orders so far today." And this was like at supper time. So they're not flying off the shelves. I don't know. I think the 1X, the Scorpio edition, was kind of you had to get there early, but I don't think like I think after launch the PS4 Pro and the 1X were kind of hard to get, but I can't
Yeah, the
remember
Pro
what
is
the
a little hard to
pre-order.
find. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have data that the PS4 Pro was like just 1/5 of the entire like balance of like what was in the market. There was like a 4/5 of the PS4 install base was still the base console, and just 1/5 was PS4 Pro.
I think it's 15%. I think it's 15%, which is lower than 1/5. It's smaller.
Yeah, depending. It's like 13.4 million out of the 17 million sold, so you can kind of just make the math
something
there.
like that.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
But
and I also think they had different. There's like just one more thing. There was a lot easier to sell it because you're saying this is the 4K machine, and people could
And
it's
4K
the same
TVs
price. It was the same price.
It's the same price,
Yeah.
and 4K TVs are becoming the norm. Whereas 1080p was the norm halfway through PS3 and 360, but those machines were not capable for 1080p. They were 720p machines, so that was why.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna buy the Pro when it comes to Amazon because I have Amazon Cash. I think that Alex is gonna try to get a Pro when it goes to Amazon. Eric, are you getting a Pro?
I definitely want one because I also am kind of a degenerate, but I don't think I can. I don't think I can just like. I have to buy Christmas presents for little girls, and I don't think I can
buy them a PS5 Pro. Duh.
You know what?
They
If
can
they
play
were
Horizon on it.
Oh my god!
Actually, you don't even need to. You can buy yourself the Pro and just give them your PS5 as the gift. Boom.
To be honest, I was waiting to see what kind of trade-in offers we would have here, and there's none. There are literally none, which kind of sucked.
There you go. I'm not trading mine, and I'm gonna let my girlfriend borrow the PS5, and she can have it to play on whatever she wants, and I'll keep the Pro for myself.
But you also have a freaking 4090, which is like what $2,000. Like so, like I think our situations might be slightly different.
Hey, that situation
over time exists for a reason. I paid this computer off for like a year. Thank you.
And also, no parenthood yet.
That's true.
That's kind of like that's the kid. The children tax is real.
I would probably have 4090 if I didn't have kids.
Yeah, here's what's so funny of why I'm like justifying a PS4 Pro. Guess how much my Slim cost? I mean, not my Slim, my digital PS5 cost here in El Salvador dollars. It's still El Salvador.
7,000.
No, 649. That's what it cost me to buy it back in 2021. So it's like me
dollars?
That I have me do. Yeah,
that's what it dollars.
Yeah, that's dollars, US dollars. So because of the markup,
that's what it costs here now in Canadian dollars.
Yeah, so that's how much it cost me to buy it, and also through credit and all that. So that's why I was like, when I really think about how much I spent and how much I've used and how the PS5 is my ecosystem and all that, and then thinking of the Pro as a $700 machine, at least in my situation, if I could get in the US, it kind of like it's a net positive for me based on how much it took me to buy mine.
Yeah.
And the preview cycle that happened this week of people that went hands-on and getting to hear more, that sold me a little bit more than the Mark Cerny presentation where they needed to really zoom in into like the crowd density, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart in the thing to really notice.
You're like, a great job. That's what made me be like, oh, maybe I should figure something. Maybe I'll try. That was a good.
So that kind of thing, and also the fact that I'm a degenerate that despite a 335-hour platinum run for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, getting to play the game at the graphical fidelity mode at 60 frames, I'm not tired of it yet. I would love to see it that way. And Dragon's Dogma and console finally runs good in that machine, so that's been one of those games that I kind of dropped. So I was like,
I got the platinum in Dogma. I have the.
You got it in Dogma too?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh. And I need to look into that if you were able to get it. But it's just like it's slowly starting to like trickle out, and I'm like,
It took some cloud save finagling to get it because I pushed past the point of no return inadvertently at one point, and I got it one run.
Yeah, and because I've been a digital only guy, I don't need to buy the drive, so and that already cut my spend.
No, that's what you need. I will say off the like just a side note quickly. I love that Sony is doing this with I hate that it's not included, but I love that the option is there. It really gives me faith that I will continually be able to buy discs for this console. I can't say the same about Xbox.
Yeah, because I know that Xbox had patented that like a disc drive for DS, and they never put that out. I remember reading that. And I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, and it never happened.
Yeah.
Maybe someday. But they want that Game Pass money. So on that compartmentalization, my testicular fortitude got tested. I wanted to buy it today. Sony PS Direct was like, if we need a card that is from the United States to know that you're from here. I'm like, okay, you're saving me from myself. I put the picture of what they
Yes.
said. So,
Yeah.
but Amazon does it, so I need to wait for October 10th. I hate that I didn't get the anniversary controller. That pains me. I wanted that one. So
eBay, it's tons in stock.
no, thank you. I'm not gonna go to that to that hive of scum and villainy.
I have a question for you guys. Let's assume that the rumors about the Xbox handheld is true, and like that is the direction they decide to go instead of a pro console. Let's assume that it's like a $500 device that is weaker than a Series X, maybe closer to a Series S, maybe $600, whatever. It's expensive, but it's a handheld instead of a pro model. Assume if Sony did that and they released a dedicated PlayStation handheld that was, let's say, about a Series S in power, and it was like about the cost or maybe a little bit more than a base PS5, like maybe between a Steam Deck and a ROG Ally X.
Mm-hmm.
If they did, would you prefer that over the Pro, or like which
No.
direction do you think would be better for, in your opinion?
I feel okay. Go for it.
I
Then.
was just gonna say no. I don't handheld game. I have a Vita. I literally own one game for it. It was the Assassin's Creed game because I love Assassin's Creed. I bought the Assassin's Creed Vita, the white one.
The white one.
I played Liberation, and that was it. So I don't really care about handheld gaming. So I'd rather have the stronger Pro and take advantage of my TV and everything to the fullest extent. So that's it for me.
I feel like for me, it's like I would want that to exist in the market because it's very clear there is a market for it, and it would be like
why,
an easy way.
but there is a market.
There is. It's like Nintendo proved it
People that
tenfold,
use
and
public transportation.
yeah,
would
and
love
that's the
it.
thing. I don't want. I spend
Which I don't.
when you
So-
work from home. Work from home is that makes handheld gaming like a waste. So I'm with Don in that one. But it's like I wouldn't mind having that, but I also don't mind like a pro model. I feel like it's clear that especially in the phone market, we've seen that in PCs we're seeing where you get like the different ranges of like if you want the very high, these are the specs, or if you want to kind of like at least make the thing playable, this is recommended, or you can even eke it out on low specs. I feel that now I feel now we live in a world where that already makes sense for different people that are willing to spend to get the best of the best, or people that just want to spend to at least just kind of get in the door. And I'm all in for like a handheld because now I know that a lot of people want that. Like Steam Deck has proved that like tenfold that there is a market for not just like separate handheld versions of game, but like the games that you know and love, carrying them with you. And I know the PS Portal is kind of like a half step to that, and a lot of people swear that thing is better than people that people say it is, that people think it would be because it's like a remote play device, as long as it's like connected to like an Ethernet port. So I would probably buy that handle to have with me if I ever travel. That's what I would use it for, because at least it would save me from having to slog in this machine, because I've brought my PS5 with me when I go to the US. Don't ask me how, but I do it.
Oh no, I bring my PS5 everywhere. I bring it down when I go visit my parents for holidays. I bring it anywhere I go. I don't have any issue. I just take my bag and I throw it in there, and then I throw clothes around it. I throw some clothes around it as like cushioning and on the sides, and I wrap it in a towel.
I remove the plates.
Wrapping the PlayStation.
Yes, I remove the plates and wrap the PlayStation.
I take towel, PlayStation, wrap it up, put it in the bag, and then stuff clothes around it, and that's it. And I've done that for 4 years now. No issues.
Yeah.
I fly on planes with it.
Yeah. So in short, let's say that it's worth pursuing both sides. And Xbox is technically already did that. The X is, they've said the Series X is their pro model. That's how they've been like selling it. And I want to see like I know there's been scuttlebutt that the power of the X has not been fully tapped. Maybe right now that it's pro, maybe something else happens, but who knows?
It has been.
But
it has been fully like it's the same as the. I mean, there's slight differences. Obviously, the architecture is not 1-to-1, but like both consoles have been maxed out. Just play Space Marine 2 on a base PS5 or Series X. They're
1080p, 1080p.
They've achieved the maximum power. Like it's over, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, but go for both. I'm down for both. I'm gonna go for the more powerful one because I have a literal 4K TV staring at me here right now. So same with you.
No, I mean I have a Switch and I thought I'd play it a lot because it's portable. That doesn't really pan out. It's my least played console, like by massive amounts of hours. I haven't really had a powerful handheld yet, so I don't know what that would feel like, but I
Mhm.
don't really have like a ton of opportunities day to day to
Mhm.
game not in
The
this room.
need, it's just the need. If you don't travel a lot, there's no need for handheld.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm
I agree.
curious like how, cuz Steam Deck is super cool, like a lot of people buy it, but I don't think it's a massively successful like retail product. You can only buy it from Steam. It's not like you can't go to
mhm.
Walmart and buy one. And like the ones that you can go to Best Buy or Walmart and get, like the ROG Ally and all that stuff, I don't think they sell uh, a ton like in compared to like consoles.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm
they're soft,
curious to see if a
soft sales.
console gamer would look at a $500 $600 handheld and think that that's too expensive. I don't know if like it's probably easier to see the difference between a Series X and a handheld, obviously, versus
Hmm.
like a PS5 and a PS5 Pro. It's probably easier to quantify the differences for the average consumer, but I don't know if that would also be too much because it's not going to be as powerful as the Series X. It's not going to run
Hmm.
games as well. You're going to be looking at a lot of 1080p, 720p upscale. Like
Hmm.
it's not going to be like that. So I don't
Hmm.
know how well that would do either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have to be like the handle would have to be priced cheaper than, at least in PlayStation's case, cheaper than at least the slim model, because it's a handheld. It's like that's the price. If it's like higher than your baseline console, that's a harder sell
Yeah, I think if
for
they
me.
did a handheld, it has to be Series S priced. I think 300
Hmm.
is the point, is for a handheld. I don't think you
Hmm.
can go a $500 Steam Deck or ROG Ally level. I think it's got to be $300 if they
Yeah,
were ever to do it for
because they also
sure.
want to maintain their console. So that
Yeah.
way, it's like if
Right.
you actually
Yeah.
want power, go
Yeah.
over to the console. But you just want to
Yep.
get the foot in the door and just play the games.
Yeah, the
I think
Go
a
Pro
for
is
the
for the
handheld.
Series
power user, and a handheld is for the same person the Portal is for. It's for the PlayStation lover who just wants to take their PlayStation stuff on the go, but recognizes that it's not going to be the place for the PlayStation games.
Hmm.
I think a Series S though is pretty close to a Steam Deck in power, or maybe
Hmm.
more. So
Probably, but the price
and the Steam
point,
Yeah,
Deck costs
yeah, I
more.
the
know
pri-
the Steam Deck. I think it's slightly more powerful, like just slightly. Like the Series is kind of like lower in like the specs,
And
but
a Steam Deck?
they're kind of like in the they're kind of like in the like window.
How much is a Steam
Depend.
Deck in the US? Like
well, the
for
OLED Steam Deck is the problem because they added the fancier screen and that jumped
Hmm.
up the price. So I think that's 450 or 400 now.
500 some. It's
Is
500
it
something.
five? Okay,
The normal Steam is like 349.
yeah,
So
that sounds right.
the smallest or the because there's one that's like doesn't have the same speed memory. It's like 64 gigs. It's like that's the cheapest one. I would say the one above that,
hmm.
whatever that costs, is probably what the Xbox thing will cost.
All
Hmm.
Is
right,
my
so
guess.
Steam Deck information. The 399 LCD,
Hmm.
549 512 gigabyte OLED, and the 649 1 terabyte OLED. Though that's
Yeah.
the refreshed model. So yeah,
Hmm.
between 400 and 650. So honestly, if you're getting a 1 terabyte Steam Deck at 649, maybe it's not so crazy to put a
Yeah.
Well,
PlayStation
I think you'd get a
Pro
Series
at 7.
S 512 gigs
Yeah,
probably,
because
and I think it would
yeah,
be
the
500.
PS5 Pro for $50 more and 2 terabytes and like the all the fancy stuff is like it's people like paying. People are willing to pay a bunch of stuff for this thing now.
Yeah, and
That's what's so.
the old model, the 64 gigabyte LCD is 349. It's out of stock on Steam's thing
Hmm.
here, and then the 512 LCD. So these are the original two models is 449. So
Hmm.
they're
Yeah, those.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah. And how
They're
much is the Series S in America? It's like 299.
299,
300. Yeah,
and it's
399.
yeah 300 still at base retail.
Yeah, so
349. Yeah, 349 for the terabyte one, which is the
Yeah,
one that are pushing. They're pushing more.
if the
So.
yeah.
handheld is a Series S equivalent power wise, I think you're looking at 500, 450,
Hmm.
500, something like that at least.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think
Um,
it would work. I think that they need to keep it in that 300
Hmm.
price point. Maybe not have an OLED screen. Maybe put an LCD screen, and you can keep it at like maybe 350, the same way the LCD is for the Steam Deck, and
mhm.
just eat the cost of the storage. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Do what
Yeah.
Nintendo's supposedly doing with the Switch successor. They're gonna start with an LCD to keep the price low.
yeah, but yeah. So that's that. That's the Pro.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for you guys to get it. I don't know if I can last the rest of this generation without getting one, so I probably will have one at some point. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
hold off as long as I can, which honestly probably won't be that long. Um, just really quick because we're already at 2 hours. I was gonna go quickly over the Tokyo Game Show Xbox showcase. I feel like this showcase was kind of more of a reminder
to show up.
to
We just
Asia that we exist. We're here. There wasn't any crazy reveals because this would be like their third showcase, I think, in like 3 months or
Yeah.
4
Mhm.
months. So just quickly run through the list here. I'll probably pronounce some of this stuff wrong. They have Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, My
Mhm.
Hero Academia DLC for Overwatch 2. The first expansion for Age of Mythology was revealed, and they're going to use Chinese mythology, which is on brand for the Tokyo Game Show. They announced that StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2 are coming to PC Game Pass, which is a good start, but I think they really need to make both of those available on Steam. If they're not, I don't think StarCraft 2 is on Steam at least. Indiana Jones had a new trailer with Japanese voice acting, which is really cool to see. I don't know is that common with PlayStation games like Horizon, Last of Us? Do they have Japanese voices, or is it?
Usually,
I'm
I know
honestly
they
not sure.
do, but I would be like, I would have to double check. So
Yeah, I don't. I know the Xbox games typically don't, so I think that's cool to see.
Fun fact: only Dragon Age 2 has a Japanese voice track.
Of the Dragon Age,
That's
or just it's
funny.
the only
Yeah.
game ever?
Of Dragon Age, it's the
Of
only
Dragon Age, yeah.
Dragon Age 2 is the only Japanese voice track Dragon Age game. In the Japanese PS3 edition only. I have one.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, fun fact for people that don't play a lot of Japanese games: Japanese voice actors are genuinely the best ever of all time. Go play Yakuza; they are so good. Even just like the cheapest game with like the lowest budget, for some reason, the voice acting will just be insane.
Yeah, no one. I mean, I love Kiryu. You know, Takuya Kuroda is so good, and I'm so excited for eventually getting to like a dragon pirate yakuza in Hawaii.
Yeah.
With Hidenari Ugaki as Majima. Still, yeah, it's exciting.
I like
Yeah.
Mad Mercer's like the rendition of Majima. I've heard it.
How did you
So,
like Kiryu in The Man Who Erased?
yeah.
Anyways,
Jung, yeah.
Moving on.
yeah. Anyways, they revealed a new Game Pass title. It's not out yet, but it's called Super Cute Tanuki Pawn Summer. I couldn't tell you what this is. It looks like a
Kirby game?
Tanuki.
It's got
mixed
Tanukis
with-
in it.
It's like
Yeah.
Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX with Tanuki pawns. I don't know. Maybe you deliver mail too. Maybe I saw that. I don't know. Anyways, that's coming to Game Pass. Threads of Time is a new HD or 2D HD 2D game being published by Humble Games, which looks kind of neat. We love Katamari Reroll Plus. Just shadow dropped on Game Pass. Frag Punk had a really cool dev diary. I think that the game I haven't played it obviously, but the gunplay and stuff looks actually really cool and has a kind of unique hook with the kind of card battler mixed with first person shooter. Be interesting to see how that turns out. There's a closed beta, I think October 10th. Metaphor had a trailer and revealed the demo that they accidentally leaked yesterday. That's a 5-hour, I think, 5-6 hour demo.
5-6 hour demo.
I'll report back when I finish it if I finish it.
Yeah, and
That's
we'll
my
talk
next
about
thing
that.
after Ragnarok.
I was gonna play it today, but I ended up going to the gym for the first time, and I can't walk, so I'll have to play it.
You can pet your cat.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know he was there. That's Ralph, everybody.
He's been there all show.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
He's a big
Sneaky.
one. I've been like seeing like he's a chunky one.
Yeah, he eats. He definitely eats. Yeah, so that's the prologue for the game too. So their progress carries over. Atelier Yumiya
Atelier Risa, I think
had a dev diary that was
Is it
very
Rise? I thought
long.
it was Yumiya.
Oh, okay.
Yumiya. I wrote Yumiya, so we're gonna
It's
go with
Yumiya.
that.
Yeah, Rise is the old, not old. It's the newest one, but it's the already existing franchise. Yumiya, I think, is the new
The
batch.
next the
I
next
think so, yeah.
iteration. Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
never played any of the Atelier games. I own the Mysterious trilogy because they look interesting, but I also just kind of like the word atelier, which is a fun
Yeah.
word. It's a
Sounds
French
French.
word that means
Yeah.
it is. It's French for alchemy or alchemist.
Ooh, sweet.
Clever.
That's what it is. That every character you play is a witch alchemist. Every game in there, you're a witch alchemist.
That's why we're talking about alchemy in the dev diary so much.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because atelier means alchemist. Yeah, they look cute. I'll play them at some point.
I will say though, fun fact: this is the first time that series has been on Xbox, and I feel like they've released one of these every year for my
They do
entire
release
life.
a lot of them.
Yeah, all the time. I always see them in the sales.
The new ones, and then they re-release them in like collections, and then they like update them. That's what I have, the like updated collection of the Mysterious trilogy that just all came to PS4 at one point. They were cheap.
Amazing. They also revealed, I'm going to say this wrong, Azur Jang Rumble, which I actually think looks kind of cool. It looks kind of like a League of Legends style combat, but a battle royale. It's very hard to tell what it's going to play like, but that's kind of the vibe I got, which I thought it was cool. Bleach Rebirth of Souls got a new trailer. I think that was revealed this year at another showcase that I can't remember. Relatively new fighting game in Bleach series. Sin Duality Echo of Ada.
Mhm.
That is another one of those third person, I think, games that I blend together, and I couldn't tell you anything about it, unfortunately. And I know that sounds really bad and disrespectful, but that's it was.
All
I
right.
also should note for the audience, I watched this at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
and I hadn't had I can't anyway.
Yeah.
Fallout 76 DLC, they were bringing cats and dogs to Fallout 76. I don't know if you can eat them, but maybe you
I
can
hope you
Fallout.
would.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cat, like it's crazy.
Ralph rolled over. He's like, "What? You're bringing me where?"
He's dreaming. Suikoden 1 and 2 remastered had a gameplay trailer. I don't think that franchise has been on Xbox either until
No.
now,
Mhm.
which is kind of cool to see. All You Need Is Help, which really looks like that Snipper Clips game almost from the Switch launch, but it's not
Mhm.
Snipper Clips, just kind of that vibe. Game Pass Shadow Drop as well, which is kind of cool. Slitterhead had a deep dive. I don't think they're releasing the physical version on Xbox, which kind of sucks because just
Mhm.
the basic physical copy
Yeah.
is like really cool. Has an art book, and it's kind of like some of the Yakuza games that drop with the steel book and things like this. But
Yeah.
it looks really cool, and I wish I'll probably just pick it up on PS5. But the physical version looks really cool. Love to see that stuff. And the deep dive was pretty interesting. It was also quite long. The Star Bites Taste of Dessert trailer. I don't even know what this is. Like I don't remember.
It's for the Japanese audience.
I don't remember seeing this. It definitely was Japanese though. I can tell you that. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D had another trailer, and they showcased the Monster Wrangler aspect,
Mhm.
which looks kind of neat actually. I haven't played any Dragon Quest other than 11. Was
11?
it? Yeah. So I don't have any nostalgia for this, but what they showed
Yeah.
did look cool, and HD 2D is just beautiful. All of those games that have
Yeah.
that from Square Enix are just beautiful.
I'm the minority there. I don't like 2D. I don't like HD 2D. I don't like pixels. I don't like sprites.
Mhm.
Keep all that away
What?
from me.
Did
You
you
can
play
send your
Sea of
hate mail
Stars?
at Joseph LaRussa over on Twitter.
This is true. Feel free to hate at me all you want. I don't want to see another sprite as long as I live. I don't care about sprites. I want 3D, fully fledged, real games. Thank
Yeah.
you. I've
Shit.
said
The
my
views
piece.
of Don Lionheart doesn't represent the
That
views of
is
Season Gaming as a whole, and also on Eric and
I'm very,
Uh,
I'm very much aligned with Dan. You know, Season Gaming's Dan Rodriguez. I agree a lot with his perspective on games like that. But yeah. Anyway, I don't want to keep that going.
dang.
Just go ahead. I just had to say my 2 cents there.
Well, speaking of sprites, Legend of Mana also shadow dropped on Game Pass with
Mhm.
a what's the other one? Trials of Mana. One of them. One of them
Trials.
sprites.
Yeah, Secret and Try. I know there's
No,
Secret of
Secret's
Mana and
not
there's Trials
there.
of
Are
That's
Mana.
the
these the
missing
originals
one.
or the remakes they did? I didn't see
The
that.
I
remakes.
think it's an original and a remake. I think
Okay,
the ones that
cool,
are.
cool, cool, cool.
Trials, I think, is the sprite remake,
Mhm.
and Legend, I think, is maybe
The
3D
yeah
or
the 3D remake. Yeah.
Cool, cool.
yeah.
Okay, good to know.
And
These
then
were already on PS Extra for a
Yeah,
while, so now so now the Game Pass gets them. So
yeah,
that's cool.
so not only are they coming to Xbox, shadow dropping, but they're also on Game Pass too. Really, really cool. And then the final kind of announcement was Pixel Remaster is finally coming to Xbox. It shadow dropped, not on Game Pass, but it is there. I saw the bundle. I don't know if you can buy them separately yet. I know on
You can.
PlayStation you can.
Yeah,
Okay,
and yeah, you can separately, and I think right
on
now they're
Xbox.
discounted. Yeah, they're discounted on
Okay,
Xbox from what I saw.
I
So
might pick up 6 because
do six.
I heard that
Four
that's
and
really cool.
six are the ones. Those are the ones that I stand behind.
Okay.
One is too old. 2 and 3 kind of suck. 5 is interesting, but I would rather you spend your time with 6. So
Cool. And that was kind of it. They had some really cool shadow drops. It's always cool to watch like Xbox showcases and have Game Pass because when the shadow drops on Game Pass, you can literally just boot it up right after the show, which is kind of a cool feeling. And there was some stuff here that kind of that happened in. I think it's really important for Xbox to, as fruitless as it may feel, and is for the last however many years, I think it's still important to keep trying in Japan. Phil Spencer did make a comment, something along the lines of there's more people playing Xbox in Japan right now than ever before, across consoles and other devices.
because now they're putting their games on PlayStation or Switch. I'm just kidding.
No, I think he specifically said consoles too, like
Mhm.
Xbox consoles. What that
Mhm.
number is, I don't know. Could still be very small. Probably is still very small. But
Mhm.
Asia and Europe are the big kind of places where Xbox has a very poor presence. That though, especially Europe, is the main reason why the console sales disparity is so large in
And they had
America.
the UK, and they really had the UK back in the day. It was like they were strong in Europe. That's what's so wild, that they
Yeah,
really
the
seeded that territory hard.
Xbox One just was, there's so many mistakes, even
Yeah,
way more than just the TV sports stuff and the Connect.
yeah.
There's way just
Yeah.
a litany of errors. But
Yep.
in North America, they're still super competitive. It's like neck and
Mhm.
neck with PlayStation, but in Europe, which is a huge region, it is not neck and neck, and in Asia, it's
Nope.
even worse.
Yeah, it's like just by 100,000, yeah, like 100, 2,000 unit, 200,000 units, kind of like in difference. PS5 always outselling, but the Switch obviously outselling them both. But
Yeah.
everywhere else is like lopsided,
Yeah.
like in the ratios.
It was, I think it was overall a decent showcase for Xbox of very Japanese and Eastern focused games. They probably did what they needed to do for this particular showcase to the best of their ability. Obviously, having a showcase in the wake of closing Tango and then selling off Tango is a little
Yeah,
being their only Japanese studio,
yeah,
but
unfortunate timing.
yeah, but they did what they could do, and I think that that's about it. I don't think
Yeah.
that we could have asked or expected more from them at this moment. I
Yeah.
think that, like we were
Yep.
talking, we'll see what games come out, and then as more time goes on, maybe they open new Japanese studios, maybe they
Yeah.
try to make another purchase, maybe they make another play, maybe they money hat. Who knows? I don't think they're going to give up on Japan. I just don't know how open Japan is to Xbox.
Well, I
Xbox
think
fans, prove them. Buy these games.
I
Buy
think
them.
I think their strategy in Japan is pretty good for garnering goodwill, because they are doing a lot of marketing and spending a lot of money to promote games like Metaphor and games like Visions of Mana, but they're not forcing them to be exclusive. So
Yeah.
from the developer's perspective, they get to go on this huge stage at the summer showcase and the developer direct and get a lot of eyeballs on their games for free. And then they don't have to like worry about pissing off Japanese players that are using PlayStations or Nintendos or whatever,
Mhm.
because they're not forcing them to do exclusivity deals.
Yeah.
So I think that if they can continue to do that, I think that will continue to pay dividends. I think something like a Series S being so compact is pretty good to have in Asian markets. But most importantly, PC is very popular in like
Yeah.
Korea and Japan and stuff like that. PC Game Pass in Japan, they haven't really adjusted the price for the what's happening with the Japanese yen. So PC Game Pass is super affordable in Japan, and they're having some economic issues right now with their currency. So I think that's kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
unless they probably tomorrow raise the price or something like that. But right now it is a really good deal, and I think
Yeah.
that they are probably slowly, I wouldn't say converting. I don't think you'll ever convince a Japanese person to like dump all of their Sony and Nintendo products and just be a Microsoft fanboy. I don't think that's ever going to
No, I
happen.
don't think so.
Yeah,
But I do
mostly
think,
Nintendo stuff
But
yeah,
nowadays.
it's not a bad idea to try to just grow where you can.
yeah,
I
I
think
think they're just
that is all they can
goodwill.
do.
Yep.
Yeah, and I feel just growing in Japan, just adding that perception that you can still get those Japanese games if you care more about just the American Europeans. That's good for your system, because you want to remove that stigma of like, if I'm in the Xbox ecosystem, I'm just gonna get less
Yeah,
than the other
it's
two.
really just about
So
walking that line too, Alex, because you have to convince the devs to put it on your system
yeah,
and say there are enough, please, there are enough people who will buy it from us.
mhm,
But there's not. Sometimes there are, sometimes there's not.
yeah,
Um, you know, Mr. Many Plays loves his JRPGs. He tries to buy them on Xbox to support it, but I don't hear a lot of content creators saying that they're buying their JRPGs on Xbox. They're not.
mhm,
There's not a lot of people who push those Eastern games on the Xbox, which is
yeah,
unfortunate for the people who play Xbox who like them. Like Eric seems to like that sort of thing.
mhm.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't know if this will help. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, I
How it
think they need to
goes.
get to a
It's
point where they are able to have these Japanese developers release these like I guess second or third tier games in terms of their like like global
yeah.
appeal. Like Final Fantasy is technically a JRPG, but that's going to
Yeah, you
be
need your
appealing to
trails. You need your
Yeah.
trails. You need your
yeah.
trails in your east. That's really what it is. You need your Nihon
Mhm.
Falcon games, Falcon
Yeah,
games.
and right
Yeah.
now to get those when those games come to Xbox, it's usually because of a Game Pass deal or because of a
Yeah,
marketing like
Yeah.
advantage, or
yeah,
like they're spending money whereas Sony, they just released them there, and Nintendo, they just
because
released
they
them
know
there.
they can guarantee to just get sales, and unfortunately now we know that the
Yeah.
Game Pass money is like slowly drying up. We've kind of heard
It
those things
had to
that
dry up
they,
eventually, though.
yeah,
It couldn't keep going the way that it was. It didn't make any
yeah,
sense.
Yeah.
So
So
all that money went for ABK.
I think that's the next step is to get like these Mana games or these Trails games, these East games to just release
Mhm.
without having to have an
Yeah,
extra incentive
yeah,
on
yeah,
top of just selling it.
yeah, but
yeah,
Which I don't think they're there yet, but stuff like this I think helps get there
yeah.
yeah,
They just
slowly.
need a reasonable proof that they will be able to make money off of Xbox. That 80-20% split between in Final Fantasy 15 is the reason you got so many money out of Final Fantasies afterwards,
yeah,
because it was like that. It was that much of a discrepancy in the sales. So
yep,
A
that's why.
handheld though, a
Yes,
subsidized handheld that can run Game Pass, I think that would do well in Asia. How
Oh, for
that's why I
sure.
say go
Oh,
for it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I say
It
go
would.
for that handheld, because people don't have space in their places in Japan. They
Yeah,
have space for their handhelds.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Anything else we got? Eric?
Nope, that's kind of all I got. We
Sorry to
we made
keep you
it
so long.
just
Yeah.
over an hour, just slightly over an hour, just like we planned. It's okay. I'm not that. Probably gonna game for another hour before I fall asleep anyway, so we're all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys coming. Awesome
Mhm.
discussion. This is the first time I think I had a podcast with two people, so it's really
Mhm.
cool to have the dynamic here. You guys had great takes, great opinions. Loved the chat for sure. Before I do leave, though, I want to give you guys opportunity to say your goodbyes and promote anything you'd like to promote. You can start, Alex,
All
since you're on
right.
my left.
Yeah, you can find me at A_Drew Segovia on Twitter and Alejandro Segovia 93 on Threads. I already mentioned all the reviews that I made for redseasongaming.com. You can look it up just with my name, Alejandro Segovia. There's a big list there. And then you can listen to my podcast that I post every Fridays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing, depending on when my internet decides to upload, because it's kind of slow where we are. Every Friday. So you can get me there. The X Bottom Podcast in the Escape Gaming YouTube channel. So, and all your audio services around the world that you can think of. I'm in all of them. Thank you, Spotify.
Sweet. And what about you, Don?
Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter at Joseph_law_Rusa, because that's the kind of person that I am. And you can find some of my content. Everything I've ever done is on Season Gaming. I don't, except for a podcast I did with Alex on his channel.
Mhm.
So check his channel. Check our podcast from last week. It was a great discussion.
Mhm.
Similar to this one in terms of what we were playing and going through the news, and a lot of Yakuza talk there, or Like a
Mhm.
Dragon, a lot of Dragon Age talk. So that
Yeah.
was a good podcast. And check out my articles and review for Aura on
Mhm.
seasongaming.com. I don't have anything in the works at the moment with Season Gaming beyond that, because I just did two things and they released on the same day. So we'll see what's coming up next, what's interesting. But that's it for me. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Eric. I really enjoyed this conversation. This was great. And Alex, of course, always nice chatting with you as
Mhm.
well.
Oh, yes.
Sorry that we got so far over the original planned time, but I'm sure your audience is going to love a nice meaty podcast here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
As long as the
okay.
conversations are good, it's like it's
Yeah.
worth going over. And as long
Yeah.
as everyone's able to, like,
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
for
unless
sure.
they have like other commitments. That's like the
No,
only thing.
exactly. I thought it was awesome. I loved how there's a bit of a back and forth, but
Mhm.
yeah, sweet. That's all I got. I just want to mention quickly. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing the second Friday Night Fright stream for Extra Life. I did a poll
Or-
on Twitter, and everybody voted to kind of get rid of Obscure for the original Xbox. This game is a bit old, a bit
Old.
weird. It is kind of got some neat vibes too, but they voted for to play Saw instead on Xbox 360.
Cool.
Ooh, damn.
And
The-
just to spice it up a little bit, Saw, that game is actually canon. It connects
For the
two
movies?
movies. Yes. So the story of that game is the bridge between, I think, Saw 1 and 2. So it's
Love it.
canon. 100% canon. It is must watch. If you're a Saw fan, you have to watch tomorrow for Extra Life. I'm raising money for my local Children's Miracle Network Hospital, the IWK, where both my daughters were born. Great people there, and they could probably use a couple loonies and toonies. So if you want to stop by tomorrow night around 9:30 p.m. Eastern, I'll be playing Saw. Hopefully it's not. I don't. This game got me. This game got me with a jump scare, and I wasn't. I was trying to not get jump scared. But
oh man.
anyways,
Look
I don't think
looking
Saw will be
for
that bad.
No, probably
looking
not.
forward for whenever you play Alan Wake 2, like for real. Like,
I was
speaking of
thinking
jump
that because
scares.
I had Alan Wake 1 on there, and I was planning on doing this until December, and I totally
Uh-huh.
forgot that Alan Wake 2 and like, ooh, that's gonna be scary.
Yeah, because the physical soon, but like it should be
It's like
happening. Like it's
middle of
happening in October.
October, yeah.
So
There you go.
So
Perfect
we'll have to
towards
probably
Halloween.
play that, and then I
Yeah.
get this. Okay, like this is not me trying to peer pressure anybody into watching me, but I will say that I'm streaming to pretty much nobody, so it's not like I have a chat to keep me company, and so I'm literally playing this
yeah,
alone,
I
which is
promise you,
scary.
if I have the time, I'll lurk and stop by
I
to see.
promise that was not like like to pressure anyone to join, but that is what the reality was last time, and that's kind of why I got jumped.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank
Yeah.
you guys so much for showing up and having these great chats. Thank you for anybody who's listening. Let me know and let us know what you thought about the State of Play, PS5 Pro, and the Tokyo Game Show reveals in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitter or Threads or Instagram or whatever. If you are listening on a podcast service. Also, join the Season Gaming Discord where we talk about gaming all the time. It's great. Anyways, thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
Thanks all.
Hasta la vista, baby.